Chapter 514. Lin Xiaoyuan watched as Tang Xian stood up. There was a hint of disappointment in his eyes. When Tang Ning was slandered for killing Han Xiner, she was scolded by the entire nation. But what did she do? From beginning to end, he did not utter a single word. He was wrong. On the other hand, Tang Xian's tolerance level was far too low. There was no value in training her. Xiao Xian, if you have anything to say, wait until after the product launch. Let's go home and talk. Elder Tang understood Tang Xian's temper. At this moment, she had been provoked, so she didn't care about the bigger picture. I can't accept this. Ever since I was young, I, Tang Xian, have always been the most hardworking one. Because I know that I have the responsibility of the Tang family on my shoulders, I have always been cautious and never slacked off when it comes to anything related to Tang Core. For so many years, I have devoted myself to the Tang family. In order to pass on the Tang family's perfume spirit, I have done my best. However, I never expected, not too long ago, I was kicked out of Tang Core by the current acting CEO. That's fine. For the sake of the Tang family, I can endure it. But grandfather, you should ask yourself honestly. Did you really think you were fair in the discussion just now? I've worked so hard. Yet you've never once praised me. Yet just because of a simple action from Tang Ning, you treat her as the hope of Tang Core. Don't you think you're being too biased? Elder Tang knew. These words had been bottled up in Tang Xian's heart for too long. The provocation he received just now was nothing more than a fuse. All the guests looked at the emotional Tang Xian, including Lin Xiaoyuan, who had his brows furrowed. Crazy sick. Why don't you take a look at the situation before going crazy? It seemed, the string in Tang Xian's brain was stretched to its limit. Since you must know the reason today, Grandpa will also say a few words here. You've always been proud and arrogant, and you've always liked to compare yourself to Xiao Ning. You think you are omnipotent, you think you are invincible. Actually, it was all because at that time Xiao Ning felt she owed you, so she hid herself. When you were young, you went to the same school. In order to satisfy your pride, Tang Ning always controlled her grades and never exceeded yours. Have you never wondered why she did this? In the end, Xiao Ning had no choice but to leave home early to take up the job I was most opposed to. She became a model. Xiao Xian, don't tell me you still can't see your position clearly? But I've worked so hard for the Tang family for so many years. How many drops of perfume has Tang Ning created for us? How many times had he been to the lab? How many tests have you done? She doesn't even know about perfume. Tang Xian spoke emotionally, but at the same time, she felt wronged. This made people feel like the Tang family had wronged her, that they owed her and that Tang Ning owed her. If someone else was causing a ruckus, the hotel security would have been easy to deal with. But this was a member of the Tang family and she was pregnant. So they didn't dare to take any risks. After all, everyone knew that Tang Xian wasn't easy to deal with. Tang Ning and Mo Ting were sitting not too far away as they witnessed the entire scene unfold. In the dark, Mo Ting held onto Tang Ning's hand tightly like he was trying to comfort her. He knew what kind of life Tang Ning had lived in the Tang family in the past. But he never expected that Tang Ning would give in to him. Over the years, how many days has Tang Ning stayed in the Tang family? Especially since she's already married. Grandfather. If you guys hadn't been so ruthless, I wouldn't have embarrassed you at a place like this. But I feel wronged and uncomfortable. A perfectly normal product launch had suddenly turned into a family war. Tang Xian also made her stance clear. If Elder Tang didn't give her an explanation today, everyone would be embarrassed as well. Perhaps Tang Xian felt that there was nothing she couldn't do. I don't understand. Originally, the host of the product launch was about to step forward to mediate the situation. But at this time, a powerful voice suddenly rang out from the crowd. What don't you understand? Everyone looked for the source of the voice. In the end, they spotted Tang Ning standing up from amongst the guests. After removing her hat and jacket, Tang Ning was revealed wearing a long, fluffy dress. As usual, it covered her stomach without leaving a trace. Step by step, she walked to the front of the stage from the guest seats. I never expected Tang Ning to be here. It seems Tang Ning originally didn't plan to make an appearance. I guess she couldn't stand it any longer. What's there for Tang Xian to be upset about? Look at Tang Ning's aura. She's been left in the dust. Because of Tang Ning's appearance, the venue became noisy. After all, everyone was talking about her. A moment later, Tang Ning made a shushing gesture, and the entire venue fell silent. Everyone looked at Tang Ning seriously except the crying Tang Xian. You've always been like a cowardly mouse, hiding in the shadows and waiting for an opportunity to steal everything that belongs to me. Do you really not know why you were kicked out of Tang Court? Tang Ning asked straightforwardly. She was not in the mood to argue with Tang Xian. What other reason could there be? Because you can do whatever you want. Tang Ning smiled calmly and asked Tang Xian in a cold tone. Can I ask you a few questions? If you can answer me, I will give you the position of CEO of Tang Court. You said I don't understand perfume. In that case, who was the creator of your winning perfume in Switzerland, Night Spirit? Tang Xian froze as a look of surprise appeared in her eyes. At the same time, Elder Tang was also stunned. He never imagined that the perfume that made Tang Xian famous all those years ago wasn't the creator of her own creation. You took the recipe from my notebook. If it's been a long time and you can't remember, then let's talk about something else. In that case, let's talk about something else. Before I left the Tang family, I discovered that there was a problem with the stability of that year's new product. But in the end, it was all thanks to you. You even became famous in Tang Court. Don't tell me you've forgotten about this? One by one, Tang Ning asked him about the past. I also discovered the problem. What makes you think it was all thanks to you? You still refuse to admit defeat? Fine, I admit I don't understand perfume. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Let's talk about something else. How could she not understand? Everyone was speechless. Chapter 5:15. While grandfather was in charge, Tang Court continued to grow steadily. Under grandfather's protection, you were able to climb to the top. But all these years, you say you've done your best for Tang Court. But what have you actually done for the company? Can you give me an example? On the contrary, during your time as CEO, Tang Court's shares continued to fall and scandals broke out. It was my mother, Xia Yuling, who once again brought Tang Court back on track. Hard work doesn't equate to merit. Even the cleaning auntie has done her best every day. Shouldn't Tang Court also do the same for their CEO? To put it simply, you are useless. Tang Ning pointed out Tang Xian's problem. I've never studied management and came from a modeling background, yet grandfather had high hopes for a layman like me. Think about what you've done over the years. You are not worthy of the trust of the elders. Layman. The guests were once again speechless. If Tang Ning was considered a layman then, there weren't many people in the world that were truly capable. How can you deny that to me? Tang Xian was unconvinced, but she couldn't find a single example to refute Tang Ning. After all, even she couldn't remember what she had done for Tang Court over the years. You relied on grandfather's protection to survive, while I relied on my own abilities to resolve the crisis at Tang Court. No matter how you look at it, this position should never have been yours. You're lying. Tang Xian, even you are doubting yourself. Tang Ning laughed. Tang Court has been through many ups and downs over the years, and has always maintained a responsible attitude towards the company and its consumers. When it comes to things that aren't appropriate, we need to stop them as soon as possible. Grandfather has always maintained his original intentions. That's why year after year, we have held our product launch. Tang Xian, it's important to know your place. Let's deal with our private matters in private. But today is a big day for Tang Court. I'm sure the guests are more willing to see our new perfume than you. Everyone burst into laughter. In just a few moments, Tang Ning had moved on to the main topic of the day. As a result, Tang Ning naturally became the person to save the day. Mo Ting also asked Tang Jingxian to stand up and escort Tang Ning out of the guest area. Not long after, the atmosphere in the press conference returned to normal. I've made a fool of myself in front of everyone. At this moment, Tang Ning looked at everyone and gave a sincere bow. Compared to the aggressive Tang Ning from before, she was like a completely different person. She knew her limits and knew when to advance and when to retreat. Her actions tonight were highly praised by the guests. Previously, there were still people that suspected Tongning was relying on Mo Ting to deal with the crisis. But after this incident, they were completely convinced by Tongning's high EQ. She actually managed to turn a war of words into an opening to lure out the perfume. Not only did she suppress Tang Xian fair and square, but she also promoted Tangkor's corporate ethos, being responsible to everyone. As everyone can see, Tangkor's perfume was only released to everyone after overcoming a lot of difficulties. From beginning to end, we have maintained a strict attitude to deliver the best fragrance to everyone. Even if there is a mistake, it will be corrected in time. Now let's welcome the newest member of Tangkor. Tongning faced the guests in her most elegant manner. It was like, at this moment, she wasn't a model nor an actress. She was simply the capable person in charge of Tangkor. She was the Tongning that took everything seriously. On and off stage, Elder Tang and Tang Yichen let out a sigh of relief. They never expected that the press conference would go on as normal. But Tongning did it. She once again saved Tangkor. Meanwhile, Tang Xian, who was being dragged away by Tang Jingxian, struggled to break free from his grip. But to no avail. Brother 4, let go of me. If I let you go, would I embarrass Tangkor again? Tang Jingxian asked. I'm sure you know deep down that Sister 3 has already gone easy on you today. If I were to reveal all the dirty things you've done, do you think you would still have a place in Beijing? Tang Xian lifted her head and looked at Tang Jingxian as she sneered. I'm your real sister. But how have you treated me? Have you finally remembered that you are my real sister? Tang Jingxian replied coldly. Since we were young, when have you ever fulfilled your responsibilities as an older sister? Whether it's when we were young or now, whenever I'm in trouble, the person that stands in front of me is always Sister 3, not you. What right do you have to ask me to be honest with you? Tang Xian was left speechless. Don't you know how much of a failure you are as a person? Tangkor, don't even think about it. Protect the child in your stomach and grandfather will give you a place to hide from the wind and rain. Otherwise, who do you think you are? After speaking, Tang Jingxian let go of Tang Xian's wrist and placed his right hand back into his pocket. He then turned and left the quiet corridor, leaving Tang Xian all alone in a daze as she stared at the long red carpet. At this moment, Tang Xian didn't know what to feel. She simply felt her throat burn. Was she destined to be a failure? She still had the blood of the Tang family flowing through her veins. It wasn't like she had nothing. She couldn't accept what Tongning had said that night, because she was the big miss of the Tang family. No one could deny the hard work that she had put in, not even Tongning. Like this, Tangkor's product launch proceeded smoothly. As for the tricks that Lin Xiaoyuan wanted to play, they were completely useless. This was all because Tang Xian was an idiot with a pig's brain. If she had worked a little harder and endured for just a second longer, she wouldn't be in this situation. By bringing her frustrations to the product launch, wasn't this the same as telling the world that she couldn't stay in Tangkor any longer? Most importantly, Tongning's words told everyone that Tang Xian didn't have the ability to lead Tangkor. This was equivalent to shutting the door on Tang Xian's plans to seize power. So, what else did Tang Xian have left to use? The child in her stomach. Lin Xiaoyuan developed a strong interest in Tongning. He refused to believe that a woman could be so powerful that even a man would have to bow down to her. That was because he had never seen the ruthless methods of the man behind Tongning. Of course, Tongning did not intend to end the game here, because this act was simply to make it impossible for Tang Xian to enter Tangkor again. This time, Elder Tang could finally let out a sigh of relief. At the same time, he couldn't help but admire Tongning's capabilities. This brat wasn't just an ordinary person. If only she could continue to take over Tangkor. Unfortunately, Tongning was currently thinking about how to get back at Tang Xian for what Xia Yuling did. Chapter 516. After the product launch, Tangkor's new perfume became a hot seller. The commotion did not seem to have affected Tangkor's operations at all. In fact, consumers were able to see the seriousness and effort of Tangkor's management. Most importantly, they were able to see Tongning's capabilities. After Tongning's baptism, Tangkor's investors gained a lot of confidence. In a way, this also served as a deterrent to the shareholders. The Tang family wasn't a family without people. At this time, Xiao Yuling's secretary decided to take advantage of the chaos to escape. In reality, ever since returning from Switzerland, she had been in a state of fear. She originally thought her plan had succeeded, but who would have thought? The position of acting CEO had been snatched away by Tongning. She knew how capable Tongning was, so she didn't dare to stay in Tangkor for too long. So she decided to investigate in secret. She originally wanted to sneak out of Beijing while Tongning was unprepared. Unfortunately, her every move was under Mo Ting's control. As soon as she stepped into the airport, she was immediately taken away by Mo Ting's men. Soon, she was escorted back to the CEO's office. As soon as the secretary saw Tongning, she took a few steps back guiltily. However, she was quickly stopped by the bodyguards behind her. "What are you trying to do? Tongning, what you're doing is illegal." "Illegal?" Tongning lifted her head and looked at the secretary with a cold smile. "When you framed my mother, did you ever consider that you were breaking the law?" The secretary's body trembled as her palms began to sweat. "President Xia was kidnapped by criminals. What has that got to do with me?" "Then why didn't the criminals kidnap you?" Tongning asked. "Secretary Gao, we are both smart people, so there's no need to beat around the bush. Since I have control over your every move, that means everything you and Tang Xian have done has been under my watch. Even if you don't tell me what happened, I can still investigate the truth. But, I'm afraid it won't be as beneficial to you. Of course, all I need to do is put in a bit of effort. Think about it yourself." After speaking, Tongning lowered her head and returned to her work. But the more Tongning remained silent, the more Secretary Gao's heart trembled. She knew, the woman in front of her wasn't Tang Xian. She wasn't the big miss that could easily be fooled into handing out money. "I will only give you 1 minute." Secretary Gao's throat moved, and his hands were tightly clenched together. After a mental struggle, he gave up struggling. "I confess, but you have to promise me that you won't send me to the police station." "Sure, but you have to do something for me." Tang Xian continued to live in the Tang family home, because she had nowhere else to go. Elder Tang had said that no matter how many mistakes she had made, she was still the eldest miss of the Tang family, and this was still her home. In reality, he just wanted her to stop acting recklessly in case she hurt the child in her stomach. That night, it snowed lightly in Beijing. Elder Tang informed the housekeeper to prepare a sumptuous dinner, because Tongning was planning to host a banquet. It had been a long time since Tongning had returned to the Tang family home. So, Elder Tang was naturally filled with joy as he prepared for her return. But while the entire family was immersed in joy, Tang Xian was the only one who felt like she was trapped in a cage of suffering. Soon, Tongning's invited guests began to arrive at the Tang family home. Originally, the shareholders thought the Tang family was treating them to a New Year's dinner early. But as the elders gathered around the dining table, they looked at each other and felt something wasn't quite right. "Chairman, the third miss is treating us to dinner. Why isn't she here yet?" Elder Tang smiled as he touched his walking stick. "She's on her way. The weather is cold and the roads are slippery, so I told her to be careful." Tang Yichen and Tang Jingxian sat together and chatted. Meanwhile, Tang Xian sat in a chair like she was isolated from the world. She held her stomach out and looked down at her bulging stomach. At this time, the housekeeper approached Elder Tang and said in a low voice, "Chairman, the third miss and son-in-law are back." A moment later, everyone looked towards the door and saw Mo Ting walking into the living room with his arm around Tongning's waist. The couple emitted a powerful aura of nobility, like a dragon and phoenix amongst men. "Sorry for making everyone wait. Quick, take a seat," Elder Tang said as he pointed to the 2 empty seats beside him. Tongning smiled as Mo Ting's eyes carried a deeper meaning. Of course, he was still here to act as Tongning's background. But his background was a little too eye-catching to be ignored. "Today, I invited everyone to dinner to apologize for my disrespect a few days ago," Tongning said as she picked up a cup of tea. Tongning was the first to pick up a cup of tea and said to the elders, "I'll use tea in place of wine to apologize to you all." "Child, you're definitely made for business. You've never learned management. Yet you know the art of being a ruler, and how to use both kindness and power. One of the shareholders praised. Although the other shareholders weren't convinced, they couldn't express it in a situation like this. So they simply smiled. Uncle, you're flattering me. When it comes to management, I'm still inexperienced. However, apart from apologizing to everyone, I have another matter that I want to deal with in front of everyone. If the third miss has something to say, feel free to say it. Hearing this, Tongning suddenly lifted her head and looked at Tang Xian. Tang Xian couldn't help but laugh. What did I do to upset you this time? Do you want to deal with me? Tongning, I can't believe you won't even let a street rat off the hook. To emphasize how pitiful she was, Tang Xian even mimicked a rat and squeaked a few times. Speak, what is it this time? I heard news about my mother, Tongning replied calmly. Tang Xian's expression immediately changed. Although we haven't found her yet. Big Miss Tang Xian, I think it's better for you to explain the situation. What do you mean by that, third miss? One of the shareholders was confused. What does President Xiao's disappearance have to do with the big miss? Tang Xian's facial muscles stiffened, but she refused to admit defeat. Tongning, I may have failed, but don't try to pin everything on me. Xiao Yuling's disappearance was her misfortune. What has it got to do with me? I know you won't admit it. Tongning revealed a mocking smile. I'm also aware that everyone here has caused a lot of trouble and obstacles for my mother. That's why I've invited everyone here today. If there's something you want to say, then say it. As soon as Tongning finished speaking, everyone understood that this wasn't a dinner, it was a trap. Tongning's motive was simple. She wanted to get revenge. Tang Xian, you need to think this through. If I am the one to reveal this incident, there is a chance that your child will be born in prison. Chapter 517. Tang Xian was forced into a corner as she slammed her hands on the table and stood up. Don't go too far. I already have nothing. What more do you want? I don't want anything. I simply want you to tell me the truth. Tongning remained calm. Why is it so difficult to get the truth out of your mouth? I don't know. Tang Xian replied calmly without considering the consequences. Tang Xian denied without considering the consequences. At this time, some of the shareholders couldn't sit still anymore as they started to criticize Tang Xian. Third miss, I know you are currently in a position of power, but you shouldn't be so ruthless towards a pregnant woman. I'm sure no matter how evil she is, she wouldn't have the guts to take someone's life. That's right, I want to be ruthless towards her, Tongning admitted. This has nothing to do with whether she is pregnant or not. From what I know, she doesn't even count as a person. The disgust in Tongning's eyes was real. Her hatred towards Tang Xian was not hidden at all. Fine, if you admit it, I won't be used to it. After speaking, Tongning clapped her hands as a signal. A moment later, Secretary Gao walked shakily into the living room and stood in front of everyone. Secretary Gao, you speak. Seeing that the truth was about to be revealed, Tang Xian immediately yelled at Secretary Gao. If you dare to say anything, I will get someone to cut out your tongue. Hearing these words, everyone was shocked, because her actions made it seem like she was trying to cover something up. Above all, Secretary Gao wasn't someone that couldn't understand the situation. Now that Tongning was in control of her fate, she had to listen to her orders. Actually, President Xiao wasn't kidnapped by kidnappers. He was taken away by the Big Mississippi. As for whether he's dead or alive, I'm not sure. The Big Miss wanted the position of CEO and thought that by getting rid of President Xia, she would be able to get what she wanted. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? You're lying, Tang Xian yelled. You received benefits from Tongning. Big Miss, stop struggling. I have a lot of evidence in my hands. You won't be able to escape. Tang Xian's eyes grew wide. Her blood-red eyes could not hide her fear and excitement. I didn't. This slut framed me. However, at this moment, no one believed Tang Xian's words. Tang Yichen hated family fights, so she stood up and left. Meanwhile, Tang Jingxian moved to sit next to her, afraid that she would do something extreme again. After all, it wasn't like she hadn't done it before. Tongning, are you going to force me to my death? Didn't I tell you? What happened before was just the beginning. This isn't even 1,000th of what you did to me. She then pulled out Secretary Gao's phone. On this phone, there are records of all your phone calls with Secretary Gao, as well as the entire kidnapping incident. There are also a few new contacts involved. Do you want me to release them to the police? Tang Xian wanted to refute, but the words stuck in her throat and nothing came out. Eldest miss, just admit defeat, or we'll all go to jail. President Xia is no longer here. This is murder. Think carefully. Tang Xian did not say a word. She simply clenched her fists. Tongning had no intention of waiting any longer, so she pulled out her phone and called the police. Secretary Gao was so scared that her hands and feet trembled. All she could do was beg Tang Xian, Big Mississippi. I beg. At first, Tang Xian did not move. But just as the phone was about to connect, Tang Xian finally said in a raspy voice, Speak, what do you want in exchange? Tongning hung up the phone and handed it to Mo Ting. Afterwards, she looked into Tang Xian's eyes and simply said, Hand over your shares of Tangkor. Ha! Tang Xian suddenly burst into laughter. Tongning, you are indeed ruthless. Shares of Tangkor in exchange for the rest of your freedom. I think it's a good deal. Tongning did not back down as her eyes remained calm. Okay. Tang Xian nodded her head. Okay, I'll fulfill your wish. Don't you want shares of Tangkor? Don't you want to strip me clean? I'll fulfill your wish. Words are no proof. I've brought a share transfer agreement with me. Sign it. These words were squeezed out of Tongning's mouth without any emotion. In fact, she felt like she was talking to a stranger. After seeing Tang Xian try to hurt her baby and mother, Tongning had already lost all sympathy and compassion for her. Tang Xian had no choice but to sign the agreement. This time, apart from her title as the big miss of the Tang family, she had nothing left. Xiao Xian, this is for your own good. From now on, you should stay at home and focus on your pregnancy. Take good care of your child. Elder Tang said at the right time. Of course, his tone was a lot gentler than Tongning's. You don't need to pretend. Tang Xian said as she lifted her head. Even at this point, she could not let go of her pride. But Tongning, so what if you win? Your mother is still not around, haha. Who told you my mother is no longer around? Tongning was originally drinking the soup that Mo Ting had prepared for her. But as soon as she heard Tang Xian's words, she put down her bowl and looked at Tang Xian coldly. When did I say something like that? Everyone had a serious expression on their faces, especially the shareholders that had been targeting Xia Yuling on a daily basis. Because at this moment, they understood that Tongning would not only show mercy, but also make an example out of them. Over the years, my mother has suffered a lot at the hands of the Tang family. She doesn't actually care about the position of CEO of Tangkor. She did it all for my sake. So when my mother is in trouble as her daughter, I naturally have to bear the blame. Over the years that I've been in the entertainment industry, I've experienced countless difficult situations. In the end, I've come up with a simple rule of thumb. If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If anyone thinks that we are easy to bully, then feel free to come at us. I, Tongning, have made it clear today. Next time, I will not be lenient. Today, Tang Xian can be crippled. Tomorrow, she can be someone else. If there's money, then let's work together. If there's no money, then let's withdraw our investments. It's simple. Don't try to do anything behind the scenes. I hate it. Lastly, Tang Xian, I may have to disappoint you again because... After speaking, Tongning turned her head and gestured for everyone to look upstairs. Unbeknownst to them, an elegant middle-aged woman was standing on the steps. She had changed into a comfortable and elegant set of home clothes. Xia Yuling. How was this possible? Tang Xian watched as Xia Yuling approached her step by step. All the hair on her body stood on end. Chapter 518. Don't come any closer. Tang Xian took a few steps back as her lips trembled. For a moment, she even thought she was hallucinating. How could Xia Yuling be fine? Father. I'm home. Xia Yuling walked over to Elder Tang's side and wrapped her arms around Tongning. I was kidnapped in Switzerland. Unfortunately, I have a good son-in-law. He descended from the sky and rescued me. That's why I'm safe and sound." Everyone at the table remained silent as they watched the show unfold. After Xia Yuling let go of Tongning, she walked over to Tang Xian's side and suddenly threw a slap across her face. "All these years, I've treated you well. Yet you have the heart of a wolf and the lungs of a dog. You repaid my kindness with ingratitude. Tang Xian, if it wasn't for the child in your stomach, I wouldn't have simply given you a slap." Tang Xian lost her balance and fell to the ground. Her eyes were wide open and unfocused. She finally understood. From the moment Xia Yuling went to Switzerland to the moment she appeared, they had taken advantage of the situation to put on an act. Their motive was to make her lose everything. "How dare you lie to me?" At this point, her shares had already been transferred. No matter what she did, it was already too late. So Elder Tang turned to the housekeeper and said, "Take the big miss back to her room and keep an eye on her. Don't let her do anything stupid." "Grandfather, you knew this too, didn't you?" Tang Xian stood up in anger and glared at Elder Tang. "So you colluded with them to lie to me and your granddaughter. Yet even now, you refuse to admit your mistakes," Elder Tang said as he stomped his walking stick on the ground. "Housekeeper, take her in." "Grandfather, I never thought even you would lie to me." "Even you lied to me." This was something Tang Xian never expected. At least, the only reason she had the confidence to be so arrogant and confident was because of Elder Tang's love. But the only person she could rely on was not someone she could rely on. It didn't take long before Tang Xian was escorted out of the dining hall. But in front of the sumptuous feast, only Tang Xian dared to pick up her chopsticks. Perhaps, these shareholders would remember what happened today at the Tang family home for the rest of their lives. Although she had seen her fair share of ups and downs, she still felt a deep sense of fear towards Tongning's schemes, especially when she had the calm and collected Mo Ting behind her. Soon, the shareholders left the Tang family one after another, saying that they were not feeling well. Since Tongning had already achieved her goal, she did not pursue the matter any further. She generously allowed them to leave. A moment later, the only people left in the living room were the Tang family. A bunch of ants. Elder Tang couldn't help but sigh. He believed that after this incident, Tangkor would be able to enjoy a long period of peace. Luckily, it was a close shave but no real danger. Xia Yuling sat down beside Elder Tang and gently pinched his cheek. "Yuling, you've suffered. The Tang family owes you too much." "Dad, you're exaggerating," Xia Yuling replied gently. "We are a family. There is no need to be so formal. Above all, Xiao Ning and Mo Ting were the ones who planned everything. Now that Tangkor is back on the right track, it means all the suffering I've endured has not been in vain. Tang Xian no longer has any leverage to threaten Tangkor. Just this point alone is worth celebrating. Let's have a toast." Unable to contain their excitement, Elder Tang and Tang Jingxian drank a little too much. For the sake of Tongning, Mo Ting naturally didn't touch a single drop of alcohol. However, after taking care of Tongning, he couldn't take care of Tang Jingxian, who had an event the next day. So he asked the housekeeper to give Song Yinshu a phone call. Elder Tang was a smart man, so he immediately understood Mo Ting's intention. So he did not keep Tang Jingxian at home. After Song Yinshu arrived, he waved his hand and said, "Young people should live their own lives. You guys can leave. Leave me alone." Song Yinshu looked at Tang Jingxian awkwardly. But because they had to wake up early the next day, she had no choice but to escort Tang Jingxian back to his apartment. Otherwise, it would be inconvenient for him to move around. Tang Jingxian lay on Song Yinshu's shoulder. His nose was filled with the scent of trust. So he smiled in a silly manner and placed all his weight on Song Yinshu's body. "Luo Xing, can you still bathe on your own? You help me bathe," Tang Jingxian said as he lay in bed. "Yinshu, help me bathe." "Forget it. Let's wait until you're sober. You need to wake up at 4 a.m. You still have 3 hours to rest." After speaking, Song Yinshu covered him with the blanket. But Tang Jingxian suddenly grabbed onto her wrist and pulled her into his embrace. "Yinshu, don't go. Luo Xing." Song Yinshu tried her best to push him away, but Tang Jingxian hugged her tighter and tighter. Did he want to take advantage of his drunken state and do something reckless? Song Yinshu immediately felt a sense of danger. But as soon as the fragrant taste of the red wine entered her mouth, she felt her body and heart become intoxicated. She knew that this shouldn't have happened. She knew that it was forbidden. She knew that her manager had slept with her artist. What did this mean? Their situation wasn't like Tongning and Mo Ting. When she woke up tomorrow, how was she going to face Tang Jingxian? With this thought, Song Yenshu's naked body broke free from Tang Jingshuan's embrace. Actually, this was a common occurrence. She shouldn't be surprised. When she woke up tomorrow, all she had to do was pretend nothing had happened. But Tang Jingxian was indeed drunk, but he did not suffer from memory loss. He clearly remembered who he hugged and who he slept with the night before. 3 a.m. the next day, as expected, Song Yenshu woke Tang Jingxian up as if nothing had happened. Hurry and wash up. We need to leave at 4 a.m. Yenshu, don't say anything. I just rushed over from home. I'm still tired. Tang Jingxian was a little surprised. He didn't understand what Song Yenshu meant. She had never left, so how could she have rushed over from home? Last night. You drank too much last night, so I took you home. Don't worry, the media didn't take any photos, Song Yenshu explained casually. Then, I went home. After speaking, Song Yenshu handed Tang Jingxian the clothes she had prepared for him. Stop wasting time, we are in a hurry. Tang Jingshuan's expression did not look too good. He couldn't understand why Song Yenshu refused to admit that they had slept together the night before. Did she simply think that last night was an accident? Although it was indeed an accident, but... Chapter 519. It's the end of the year again. There will be all sorts of award ceremonies. Although you are very popular at the moment, you still need to be humble and keep a low profile. Song Yenshu thought Tang Jingxian was trying to slack off, so she advised. Tang Jingxian listened to Song Yenshu's nagging as he put on his clothes. Although he didn't feel good, he had no intention of exposing her. Ningjia's film is about to be released. Should we spend some money to invite fans to watch it and support her? You decide. Tang Jingxian stood up and headed for the bathroom. Song Yenshu's coldness made him feel annoyed and uncomfortable. But he couldn't understand why he was acting like a woman. Why did he feel like he had been abandoned? Was he really going to let this matter go just like that? Luoxing, hurry up. You only have 40 minutes left. Over the next few days, the disaster film, WH, was about to be released. As Tongning and Bai Qindong were the two main leads, the film was extremely popular even before it was released, and attracted a lot of attention in Beijing. But as it was nearing the end of the year, there were a lot of new films to celebrate the new year. So whether WH would be a hit or miss depended on luck. After all, in order to compete for the Fei Tian Awards, there were a lot of finale films that were going to be released one after another. But the strangest thing was, while the main cast of other films were doing their best to promote their films, the two main leads of WH, one went missing and the other announced his retreat from the industry. Furthermore, the director was a newcomer. Could it be that they really had that much confidence? President, I don't think the Fei Tian Awards will be simple. The actresses competing with the Madam for the Newcomer Award are all very outstanding. Should we? Mo Ting understood what Lu Che was trying to say. He was asking if he should inform the judges of the Fei Tian Awards earlier. When has Hai Rui ever used such underhanded methods? Mo Ting asked. Especially Tongning. If she found out that she received the Newcomer Award through Hai Rui and me, what do you think she would think? Plus, no one can influence the Fei Tian Awards, not even Hai Rui. President, you're right. The Newcomer Award only comes once. If I miss it this year, there won't be a next time. I just want to put in some effort. These were Lu Che's true thoughts. In his eyes, the Newcomer Award belonged to Tongning. The Fei Tian Awards was currently the most prestigious award in the country. It was also an award that every actor dreamed of receiving. The Fei Tian Awards represented that one's acting had received the recognition of all the professionals. It was a true acting award. Doing a good job in promoting WH is what you should do. Mo Ting was well aware of the pressure that Tongning would face this time. But he was happy that she had met a true opponent. because even if Tongning lost in the end, she would not have any regrets. Late at night, Ting returned home. Seeing the yellow lights in the living room, his heart couldn't help but feel warm. It was as if no matter how chaotic and complicated the outside world was, as long as he returned home, he would be able to obtain the peace he wanted. As he pushed open the door and entered the bedroom, Tongning was in the shower. Amidst the smoke, he could only vaguely make out her silhouette. Ting looked at his beloved wife and couldn't help but wrap his arms around her from behind. He then placed his hand on her protruding stomach and used his heart to feel the little thing's vitality. Not too long from now, I'm sure we won't be able to keep the baby a secret. We need to find a suitable time to announce it. I'll listen to you. Tongning couldn't help but lean back. The fire in her heart was still burning. It was the utmost respect she had for a man. In that case, if the baby's father wants to say hello to the baby, what should we do? Ting whispered beside Tongning's ear. It was a hint to her that he wanted her to make love. Tongning turned around and hid in Ting's embrace. Her voice was muffled. I'll promise you on behalf of the baby. After being married for so long, how could Tongning not have desires for Ting? After receiving her answer, Ting carried Tongning out of the bathroom and gently placed her on the bed. He then used a clean towel to wipe away the water droplets on her body. His actions were ridiculously gentle. Tongning took the opportunity to hook her arms around Ting's neck and lean into his chest. I'm cold. Ting leaned down and kissed Tongning on the lips with a fragrant scent. Those that once said Tongning couldn't have children had no idea that she was already 4 months pregnant. So who knew how many eyeballs would pop out of their sockets this time? As for those that still looked up to the family and hoped that Tongning would be abandoned by the family, they would no longer be able to get what they wanted. This time, the Fei Tian Awards may not go to you. Are you afraid? After the pleasure, Ting hugged Tongning and calmed himself down. He kept thinking about the promise he made to her. He once promised that he would give her the best. It's not something you can control. Tongning replied as she leaned into Ting's embrace. Actually, I knew it a long time ago. I could guess it just by looking at the movie that was released this time. Plus, the actresses that participated in the awards are all very talented. If I don't win the newcomer award, it doesn't matter. I will simply feel regretful. Just like when she was only one step away from becoming an international supermodel. Even though her influence had already far surpassed that, she still did not win the title. Ting subconsciously tightened his grip around Tongning's arm. I won't let you have any regrets. Tongning trusted that Ting wouldn't act recklessly, so she simply smiled and fell asleep in his arms. W.H. was about to be released. Although she had already announced that she was retreating from the industry, it was still her blood and sweat. Just like stupid. How could she not care about her own child? Everyone would like it, right? Most importantly, this time Ziheo's future was at stake. The nervousness in her heart naturally increased by a few notches. After returning home from the event, Tang Jingxian secretly observed Song Yenshu. Actually, it wasn't hard to notice the marks left on her body from the night before. But the more she looked like this, the more upset Tang Jingxian felt. What was Song Yenshu thinking? Did she simply treat him as a one-night stand? Tang Jingxian couldn't accept this outcome. So he gathered his courage and decided to ask her about it. But just as he stepped out of the bedroom, he heard Song Yenshu talking on the phone in the living room. He is different from you. If you want to deal with him in the dark, don't blame me for being rude. Because of the incident with Xia Jingyi, Tang Jingxian was already traumatized. So he didn't like to keep his doubts to himself. Yenshu, talk to me. Song Yenshu froze for a moment as she covered her phone and nodded her head. Give me 2 minutes. Tang Jingxian did not force her. He directly sat down on the sofa in the living room. There were some things that he needed to clarify. Chapter 520. A few minutes later, Song Yenshu returned to the living room. Seeing the serious expression on Tang Jingxuan's face, she pretended to be calm as she sat down opposite him. Speak. What's wrong? Or are you trying to slack off? Yenshu. Tang Jingxian sat up straight and looked at her in seriousness. I know everything that happened last night. Song Yanshu's body suddenly stiffened as an awkward expression appeared on her face. I don't know why you ignored everything, but I can't pretend that nothing happened. Tang Jingxian took a deep breath. Perhaps he was afraid of scaring Song Yanshu, so he spoke in a gentle tone. I simply want to understand what you're thinking. Song Yanshu froze for a moment before she let out a dry laugh. What do you mean by thinking? Don't tell me you took it seriously? Isn't it normal for an artist to have an affair with their manager? I know you drank too much, and I won't ask you to take responsibility. So you simply need to get over it. After hearing this, Tang Jingshuan's heart sank. By the time he spoke again, his voice was so soft that he couldn't even hear himself. Really? That's normal. Don't overthink it. We are both adults. Everyone has needs. Oh, that may be what you're thinking. But I can't sleep with my manager and act like nothing happened. After all, you are my first woman, Tang Jingxian said in seriousness. I can't continue working with you like this. What do you mean by that? Song Yanshu's voice trembled a little. What I mean is either you try getting along with me as a woman, or we don't have anything to do with each other. I don't want to make things so complicated. I'm not saying this because I want to take responsibility. I'm saying this because I think you might like me. That's why Song Yanshu froze without saying a word. Tang Jingxian smiled like he had understood something. He then stood up and left. However, before he left he added, if you've thought it through, you can contact me. Where are you going? I'm tired. I want to get some rest, Tang Jingxian said before he left the apartment. As for where he was going, he had no idea. Her heart was a mess, but she couldn't think of a reason. Perhaps it was because of Song Yanshu's attitude, or perhaps it was because of her own impulsiveness. In his daze, he didn't notice that a car had changed lanes in front of him. He didn't have time to brake and crashed into the back of the other car. Translator, Editor. Even after Tang Jingxian left for quite some time, Song Yanshu still hadn't reacted. This was an important time for Tang Jingxian. The annual stock-taking and many important awards were being announced. He couldn't afford to slack off at a time like this. Song Yanshu panicked as she stood up. However, she received a phone call from the police station. Hello, do you know Tang Jingxian? What happened to Luo Xing? Come to the police station. He hit someone. As soon as Song Yanshu heard this, she was dumbfounded. But a few seconds later, she pulled out her phone and gave Feng Yu a phone call. She couldn't allow any scandals to happen at a time like this. Vice Chairman Feng, this is a crucial time for Luo. We can't afford any accidents. Song Yanshu, where's your composure? Hearing Feng Yu's words, Song Yanshu tried her best to regain her composure. Vice President Feng, I'm sorry. Immediately go to the police station and deal with this matter. Suppress it. Okay, I'll go right away. Song Yanshu panicked because she knew that Tang Jingshuan's emotions must have been affected. She was afraid that something had happened to Tang Jingxian because of her. If that was really the case and something happened to Luo Xing, what would she do? With these complex emotions, Song Yanshu didn't know how she arrived at the police station. All she knew was, as soon as she saw that Tang Jingxian was safe and sound, tears began to flow from her eyes. Tang Jingxian also looked at Song Yanshu. But before they could say a word, the police's questions pulled them back to reality. Obviously, you were driving illegally. I request to see the surveillance footage, Tang Jingxian replied. Tang Jingxian answered directly. I did bump into the other party, but I was going straight. The other party changed lanes. But the other party said that you were driving absent-mindedly, and suspected that you were drunk or driving due to exhaustion. According to the surveillance footage we obtained at the time, he had already changed lanes, but you did not slow down when you saw him. I remember you're a singer, right? Don't celebrities need to follow traffic rules? The police pointed to Tang Jingshuan's nose and scolded. Since you're a public figure, you should be a role model. No matter how good your songs are, what's the point? Afraid that Tang Jingxian and the man would start an argument, Song Yanshu immediately ran over and stood in front of Tang Jingxian. Sorry, we'll be more careful next time. It's true that I didn't stop in time, But it's also true that he changed 2 lanes in a row and charged straight towards me without flashing his turn lights. You told me that you saw the surveillance footage. Fine, where was the road that I got into an accident on? Tang Jingxian argued. I'm a public figure, but does a public figure's pursuit of the truth mean that they're bullying ordinary people? The man obviously didn't expect Tang Jingxian to be so calculative, so he suddenly moved his round face to the side. And you? Why are you apologizing to him? Tang Jingxian turned and looked at Song Yanshu. Haven't I been wrongly accused enough? Do you think that I need you to step in every time to solve a problem? That's not what I meant. Song Yanshu, I've already made myself clear. You have been fired. From now on, you have no right to interfere in my business. After speaking, Tang Jingxian gave the Tang family's housekeeper a phone call. Song Yanshu took a few steps back in discomfort. She had never expected Tang Jingxian to say something like this. Your career is on the rise, don't be stubborn. Why can't you appreciate the pain you've endured? I have the final say in my life. If you think that's good for me, you must be too full of yourself. After speaking, Tang Jingxian pointed to the door and said to Song Yanshu, you should leave while the reporters haven't surrounded you yet. Song Yanshu's heart ached. But at this moment, she didn't know how to convince Tang Jingxian. So all she could do was turn around and leave. Just like Tang Jingxian said, before the reporters arrived, she could still escape unscathed. The young lady is here to help you. Don't you think your words are too heartless? What do you know? Tang Jingxian yelled back at the police officer that was standing up for Song Yanshu. Since they were nothing, it was best to draw a line between them. This was for the best for both of them. It didn't take long before the housekeeper arrived at the police station to deal with the aftermath. Half an hour later, Tang Jingxian was finally allowed to leave. At this time, Song Yanshu watched helplessly as he was surrounded by the reporters. Chapter 521. Master 4, where do you want to go now? After returning to the car, the housekeeper asked Tang Jingxian, look at the reporters, they're chasing us relentlessly. Why don't we go back to the Tang family home? Aha. Tang Jingxian leaned back in his seat and nodded. I don't want to care about anything right now. I just want to sleep. What's wrong? Nothing. I just want to slack off for a bit. After speaking, Tang Jingxian did not immediately close his eyes. Instead, he gave Feng Yu a phone call. I want to get a new manager. What's going on between you and Song Yanshu? Feng Yu immediately sensed something was wrong with Tang Jingxian's tone. Nothing. I just can't work with her anymore. Tang Jingxian replied firmly. Hurry up and get me a new manager. It would be best if it's a man. I'll help you arrange it. Feng Yu did not force Tang Jingxian. He could hear the tiredness in his voice. Although he didn't know what happened between the two, he knew that separating them was the best solution. After receiving his answer, Tang Jingxian closed his eyes in relief. By the time he woke up, he was already back at Tang Kor's villa. Singer Luo Xing involved in traffic accident. Knocked over person and dragged 100 meters. Luo Xing appears at police station on suspicion of drunk driving and recording his statement. Luo Xing drove illegally. Tang Kor's fourth master helping him cover up scandal. It was the end of the year, and all sorts of awards were being contested. If Luo Xing was caught up in a scandal at this time, then everything that belonged to him could end up being given to someone else. How could his competitors let go of an explosive piece of news at a time like this? So even though Hai Rui used their PR, Tang Jingxian's incident was not suppressed. After all, his identity was complicated and couldn't be compared to the average person. From that day onwards, Tang Jingxian did not return to the apartment he had prepared for himself. No matter how big the incident got, and no matter how much the public criticized him, he refused to show his face. At the same time, Song Yanshu received a phone call from Feng Yu. I've already sent another manager to deal with Luo Xing. You can take care of another artist for now. Although Song Yanshu expected this, she still couldn't help but smile bitterly. Luo Xing doesn't want to see me. If that's the case, then let's avoid each other. It's good for both of us. He's now surrounded by scandals, so we can't have any more scandals. Song Yanshu did not refute. She knew. As long as Fang Yu said it, it was the best for the two of them. I will arrange for PR to follow up. You don't need to worry about this matter. No matter how bad Luo Xing is, he still has Tang Ning backing him. Nothing will happen to him. Just focus on doing your job, Fang Yu instructed. I understand. Song Yenshu replied in seriousness. However, even though she was no longer Luo Xing's manager, she still couldn't help but want to do something for him. Luo Xing had a bright future ahead of him. He couldn't let it be destroyed so easily. As soon as Tang Ning found out, her first reaction was that Tang Jingshuan's actions were a little strange. He actually wanted to replace Song Yenshu. Plus, from what she could see, the fact that Tang Jingxian had replaced Song Yenshu was a lot more serious than the scandal that was currently going around. So she called Tang Jingxian. Are you at home? I can't go anywhere now. Tang Jingxian replied casually. Why did you replace Yenshu? Tang Ning asked straightforwardly without beating around the bush. Did you bully her? Sis, I was the one that was wronged. Did you know that? Tang Jingxian couldn't help but sit up in bed and tell Tang Ning everything that happened between the two of them. So the person that was abandoned was me. After hearing Tang Jingshuan's story, Tang Ning couldn't help but laugh. I still remember when you were young. A fortune teller once told you that your love life would be difficult, and that you would end up alone for the rest of your life. At that time, you directly threw a rock at the old man's head and yelled that you were the one that would end up alone, and that I wanted to marry 2 wives. I can't believe you still remember something as embarrassing as that. Tang Jingxian laughed. Since that's the case, I won't try to stop you. You've already made your decision, so you should move forward bravely. I'm sure Yenshu has her reasons. Tang Ning never thought that Song Yenshu was the type of person that would play around with a person's feelings. I understand, sis. Let's not talk about this anymore. I still have a meeting at the office tomorrow morning. Tang Ning understood that Tang Jingxian didn't like to nag, so she did not continue to stress and let him rest. But afterwards, she still felt it was a little strange. According to normal logic, Song Yenshu should have liked Tang Jingxian. So, why did she suddenly retreat after they had a physical relationship? They still had to meet at the office tomorrow. With this thought in mind, Tang Jingxian closed his eyes and fell asleep. The next day, Tang Jingshuan's popularity did not decrease. Although no one at Hai Rui was pointing fingers at him, they didn't have the same warm smile that they used to have. The entertainment industry was this realistic. There was no need to act noble. Afterwards, Tang Jingxian pushed open the door and entered Fang Yu's office. At this time, Song Yenshu was standing in front of Fang Yu's desk with a newcomer. The topic of their conversation was about an event that had seen Luo Xing's scandal and requested for him to be replaced. In the end, they had their eyes on a young member from another group at Hai Rui. I'm going to leave first. Tang Jingshuan's expression did not look good. He originally wanted to turn around, but Fang Yu stopped him. Wait for a bit. Luo Xing, I have nothing to hide from you. Out of consideration for the agency, I will first arrange for your role to be given to someone else. After all, opportunities wait for no man. I understand, that's why I'm leaving. Tang Jingxian nodded his head in understanding. Why do I feel like you aren't the least bit nervous about the blow to your singing career? Luo Xing, tell me, what are you thinking right now? Fang Yu's eyes were sharp. He could easily tell that the two were avoiding each other. Afterwards, Tang Jingxian shook his head and replied, I want to get some rest right now. I'll leave everything to your PR department. Yenshu, take your people outside and wait for me. I still have a few personal things to say to Luo Xing. Song Yenshu nodded her head as she led her newcomer out of Fang Yu's office. Although this was official business, she had become someone else's manager, and the first thing she did was steal his job. She wanted to know if he was upset. You must be upset, right? Fang Yu could tell from the look on Tang Jingshuan's face that his manager had only been gone for a day. You were the one that decided to replace him. All I can say is you deserve it. I didn't say anything, Tang Jingxian scoffed. I never regret the decisions I make. In that case, do you know what Yenshu said to me a moment ago? Fang Yu crossed his arms and looked into Tang Jingshuan's eyes with a deeper meaning. Chapter 522. Tang Jingxian did not say a word. He understood Song Yanshu. Under these circumstances, she wouldn't take advantage of him. It seems you still trust Song Yanshu, Feng Yu smiled. Feng Yu smiled as he stood up from his office chair and sat down in front of Tang Jingxian. He then crossed his arms across his chest. So can you tell me what happened between you and Song Yanshu? This is my bottom line. I don't want to talk about it. There was no way Tang Jingxian was going to tell everyone that he and Song Yanshu had an intimate relationship. It would hurt her feelings. Okay, fine. Feng Yu shrugged his shoulders and stood up from the sofa. Luo Xing, there's no doubt that you are serious when you sing. But it doesn't mean that you aren't fooling around. Do you know what the biggest difference between you and your sister 3 is? Tang Jingxian looked at Feng Yu in confusion. Sense of responsibility. Your sister 3 always uses a watertight method to protect the people around her. She treasures those that have helped her in the past, and would never allow anyone that has helped her to come to any harm. But you can't do that. You obviously know how responsible Yanshu is for you. Yet you ended up hurting her by chasing her away. After hearing this, Tang Jingxian moved his lips a little, but he had no way to refute. If you compare your ability to handle matters to Tang Ning's, you are still far from it. At least, when it comes to professionalism, even if she is facing an enemy, she will smile and complete her task with the best attitude. But what about you? If Yanshu withdraws, it means that your long-term plans will have to stop. Do you want others to pay for your stubbornness? Tang Jingxian lowered his head and thought for a moment. Go home and think about what you should do to truly treat Yanshu well. He was well aware of what happened between Feng Yu and Hua Jingjing in the past. When it came to protecting his wife, Feng Yu definitely had the right to do so. After all, at Beijing Airport, he had protected the woman he loved the most from harm. This time, Tang Jingxian had no intention of refuting. Feng Yu had already used the 2 people he cared about the most to help him brainwash. I finally understand the reason why Hai Rui's PR will never lose. Huh. This time, it was Feng Yu's turn to be confused. Because you're here. This was the experience and connections that Feng Yu had accumulated over the years. It was a place where he should shine, so Tang Jingxian did not feel embarrassed at all. At the same time, he was thinking about what Feng Yu had said. If Feng Yu removed Song Yanshu from his contract, it meant he would need to renegotiate a lot of work. On the way home, Tang Jingxian kept thinking about Feng Yu's words. In the end, he decided to turn around and drive straight to Song Yanshu's apartment. However, just as he reached the entrance, he was stopped by a young man. Tang Jingxian was confused, but the man said to Tang Jingxian seriously, "Let's go sit in your car." "Who are you?" Tang Jingxian asked directly. "I am Yanshu's goal for so many years." The man shoved Tang Jingxian into the car. Tang Jingxian vaguely remembered this man. He was wearing a long black coat and had a pair of black glasses on the bridge of his nose. But strangely, even this outfit from 10 years ago looks so harmonious and gentle on him. What's going on? Yanshu. The man turned his head to look at Tang Jingxian and said calmly, "Yanshu has always stuck to me since we were young. Unfortunately, all these years, I've always treated her like a good sister. But your appearance made me realize a more serious problem. I rejected her for 11 years, but am I really that indifferent to her? She's excellent at her job. All these years, she's worked so hard to stand by my side one day. So, I hope you can understand what kind of existence you are to Yanshu. Don't have any delusions." The other party's words were very straightforward, and they sounded like thorns. Tang Jingxian thought for a moment and finally raised his head. "You can get off now. It's not up to you to tell me what to do." Tang Jingxian retorted. "Also, after rejecting someone for 11 years, you finally realized that the person you like wasn't really in love with you. Instead, it was because someone invaded your territory and you just felt uncomfortable." The expression on the other party's face turned ugly. "But don't worry, I will indeed keep my distance from Song Yanshu, not because of you." After speaking, Tang Jingxian gestured for the man to get out of the car. The man had no idea that Tang Jingxian had such a domineering personality. So there was a hint of self-humiliation in his eyes. Tang Jingxian glanced at the man. Seeing that he still hadn't gotten out of the car, He stepped out, walked around the front of the car and dragged the man out from the front passenger seat. Soon he disappeared from the man's sight. To be honest, it would be a lie to say that Tang Jingxian wasn't moved by the man's words. But Tang Jingxian knew that he couldn't cross the line with Song Yanshu. After Tang Jingxian left, the man immediately returned to Song Yanshu's apartment. "What did you forget?" "Yanshu, I think we should have a talk," the man said as he held onto the door. "I let you in out of courtesy, but I don't want you to have a pass." Song Yanshu maintained her smile. Song Yanshu maintained her smile the entire time, but her words were filled with mockery and disdain. "It's already been 11 years. I'm sure you know that. But I can't forget the fact that you've been eyeing my eyes. Did you want to use them to save the woman you love?" The man remained silent, unable to say a word. "I'm sorry, I'm not that great. Hurry and leave." "No, not this time. This time, it's because I really like you and want to be with you." Faced with the man's deep emotions, Song Yanshu simply smiled. "Everyone knows that you are a top manager. You must have put in a lot of effort into Luo Xing's matter, right?" Although Song Yanshu quickly sent the man away, Tang Jingxian also left with him. She didn't know that Tang Jingxian had been here, did she? If she did, she would have already chased after him barefooted. There was a saying, as the saying goes, as time goes by, as time goes by. As soon as Tongning heard that Tang Jingshuan's resources had been stolen, she immediately gave her troublesome brother a phone call. "Did Fang Yu bully you?" "No, I gave up my resources on my own accord." "Tang Jingxian, have you noticed that you've been acting a little strange lately? Is it all because of Yanshu? Can't you pull yourself together and solve a problem for me?" Tongning's tone became heavier. Chapter 523. "Sis, I've actually been thinking about something for the past few days." Tang Jingxian continued after a short pause. "Perhaps, I'm more suited to earning money. So, I want to wait until after your film is released, and on my last concert on December 8th to announce my retirement from the entertainment industry." Tongning actually understood that Tang Jingxian had never been suited for the entertainment industry. He refused to give up on his kind nature, yet he was always met with evil. "Have you thought it through? You should know how much Yanshu wants to see you become an evergreen tree in the music industry." "I've thought it through. One Xiajingyi and one Song Yanshu was enough for him. In this materialistic industry, he didn't want his future love life to be filled with disguises and secrets. When you make a choice, no matter if it's right or wrong, you still have to walk it to the end." This was Tongning's advice. In this world, it wasn't difficult to make a choice. It was difficult to bear the consequences of making a choice. "I will be there on time for WH's public premiere. I wish you all the best for your film." After speaking, Tang Jingxian hung up the phone. However, after making the decision, his entire body relaxed. It was like he was finally able to float to the surface after being submerged for a long time and take a deep breath. Song Yanshu was also going to be there to support WH. Of course, she was also going to be there with that man. Late at night, Tongning leaned into Mo Ting's embrace as they flipped through parenting books. At this time, Tongning suddenly said, "Jingxian has decided to retire from the entertainment industry. He's lasted long enough." Mo Ting was not surprised. He doesn't know how to socialize and he can't let go of his kindness. In this industry, there's no other path for him to choose. Most importantly, if he returns to Tangkor, he can help lessen the burden on Mom. "I'm guessing you have your eyes on that last option, right? You don't want me to work too hard." "You can say that." Mo Ting nodded his head. Mo Ting nodded his head without hiding anything. He chose this path, let him walk it on his own. By the time he is covered in injuries and calluses, he will know what to do to protect himself. Okay. Tongning was convinced by Mo Ting. After all, this was Tang Jingshuan's path to begin with. "So when do you plan to announce my pregnancy?" Mo Ting put down the parenting book and hugged his wife to sleep. "If possible, I'd rather no one find out. That way, you and the baby won't be disturbed." "That doesn't seem realistic." Tongning couldn't help but laugh. "After all, how many people are staring at my stomach? I'm rumored to be infertile." "Don't talk nonsense. Close your eyes and sleep. Emoting hugged Tongning tightly. Even though they were already an old married couple, his arms were still the same as they were when they first got married. They had never changed. He would not change, nor did he dare to change. Because in this lifetime he wanted Tongning to stay by his side. Only then would his life be complete. Meanwhile, after Tang Jingxian decided to retire from the entertainment industry, his footsteps became much more relaxed because he no longer had any burdens on him. In the past, it was all for the singing career that he loved. But now, he needed to learn to shoulder his own responsibilities and give his all like a man. Apart from Tongning, he did not tell anyone about his decision to retire. He was confident that Mo Ting would support him and not make things difficult for him over his contract. For him, the entertainment industry was once beautiful, but it was now a shackle that he desperately wanted to break free from. A few days later, WH was released to the public. Hai Rui held a screening ceremony and invited many of their friends from the industry to attend. As a highly anticipated film, many theaters arranged for midnight screenings. After all, a blockbuster film like this would usually receive a good response from midnight onwards. However, the strange thing was, the main cast of WH only sent a few supporting actors. Whether it was the director or the male and female leads, none of them seemed to have any intention of making an appearance at such an important event. The person that just entered the venue is our popular superstar, Luo Xing. From the looks of it, he's here to support our Tongning. He's getting more and more handsome. The MC outside the stage welcomed the guests with great enthusiasm. However, Tang Jingxian attended the event on his own. Rumor had it that after his manager was replaced, he was robbed of his resources. The car accident incident also hurt him quite a bit. But he was still Tongning's brother. Even the fallen stars didn't dare disrespect Tang Jingxian for Tongning's sake. Tang Jingxian entered the VIP theater on his own and sat down in the seat with his name on it. However, the thing that made him feel a little uncomfortable was the fact that Song Yenshu was sitting in the same row and there were only two people to his right. Song Yenshu seemed to have expected him to appear, so she was not surprised at all. Her eyes were dim like there was a lot she wanted to say to Tang Jingxian, but at the same time, she felt like she had been wronged. Tang Jingxian pretended not to see Song Yenshu. Before the film even started, he was already flipping through his phone and chatting with other singers. But because of their awkward relationship, the people in the back row couldn't help but start gossiping. Hey, do you guys know who the man and woman sitting in front of us are? It seems the rumors are true. The two have fallen out. Men always change when they want to. Look at how much Song Yenshu has sacrificed for Luo Xing. But what did she get in the end? Forget it. I think Song Yenshu also wants to be famous. So, she took advantage of this opportunity to get a little bit of fame. All in all, it's quite amusing that things have gotten to this point. The crowd behind them began to point at the couple. As they weren't all from Hai Rui, Tang Jingxian couldn't deal with them properly. All he could do was sit quietly and listen to the gossip. Not long after, Tang Jingxian received a message from Song Yenshu. She simply said, "Let's have a talk." "What do you want to talk about? About compensation or about canceling your contract? Luo Xing, can you not give up on yourself like this? I don't like it when you're like this." "Then what do you like about me?" Tang Jingxian asked shamelessly. But before Song Yenshu could respond, he gave his own answer. "I think we've already made things clear. I don't think the 11 years you've worked so hard have anything to do with me. So I won't think too highly of myself." Song Yenshu froze. She suddenly didn't know how to respond. Everything was because of that one night. If everything had not been revealed, perhaps she and Tang Jingxian would have had a different ending. But from now on, was this all she and Luo Xing could do? Chapter 524. The film lasted a total of 127 minutes, and the atmosphere was tense for the entire 127 minutes. Many people from the industry attended the premiere with a supportive attitude, but deep down they were thinking, "I want to see what kind of shocking film Tongning, who has only acted in one film, and a newcomer director who hasn't even acted in one film, will make. I want to see if it is as touching as the promotional video claims. But, in reality, after watching the film, everyone was silent. It seemed, it took a long time for them to recover from the horror of the film. At the end of the film, it seemed WH was definitely going to have a sequel. Tang Jingxian noticed that there were a lot of people present. After watching the film, his forehead was covered in cold sweat. Of course, after looking around, he suddenly smiled. He was well aware of how successful Tang Ning's portrayal of the female author was. It was as if, upon entering the screen, she was the only person alive. A few times, I was shocked by Tang Ning's reaction. It was like she had actually experienced something like this before. It was scary. She was chased, and then she was on the run. Tang Ning was covered in blood from head to toe. She must have worked too hard. I can't see any trace of Tang Ning at all. This film is definitely worth watching. Bai Chendong is also amazing as a psycho. No wonder he is a national treasure. Hearing all the positive comments, Tang Jingxian suddenly felt that Tang Ning's previous efforts had been worth it. This time, she was definitely the female lead. In fact, she portrayed the female author in a way that was full of character and courage. Those who wanted to see what was going on could not help but shut their mouths after the movie ended. They could clearly feel the difference between them. Bai Chendong and Tang Ning were both born to act. No matter how big of a burden they had, they could throw it all away and put 100% of their energy into their roles. As for Zhehao, because of the impact of Western culture, he did not care about commercial value. He simply wanted to shoot a good film. With these three people gathered together, WH did not disappoint. After the premiere, the people from the industry began to accept interviews from the reporters. One after another, they expressed their admiration for the entire cast and crew of WH, and hoped that the film would be a hit. But when it came to Tang Jingxian, the reporter asked another sensitive question. Luo Xing, rumor has it that you've replaced your manager. Is it because of a change of heart? Luo Xing, tonight you and your ex-manager sat on the same row, but didn't say a word. Is it because your relationship broke down? Luo Xing, I heard your former manager has found another artist and snatched away your resources. Are you aware of this? In the face of the reporter's gossipy questions, Tang Jingxian just elegantly and calmly asked everyone, was the movie good? I feel that everyone seems to be here to attend the public screening, so please forgive me for now. There will be a more suitable time and place in the future anyway. In that case, Luo Xing, can you tell us how Tang Ning is doing? Do you keep in touch? This question seemed to be quite gentle. Tang Jingxian pondered for a moment before replying with a smile. Don't worry, she's doing well. Just as Tang Jingxian was about to leave, a cry of surprise came from the other corner of the theater. Everyone's gaze was drawn over, including Tang Jingshuan's. You caused our Yijie to fall. Is this how Hai Rui treats their managers? Amongst the crowd, 3 women were surrounded. One was weakly leaning against a chubby woman, and the one on the left was Song Yenshu. I didn't do it on purpose. I apologized to Yijie. Song Yenshu politely apologized as she had been taught. Yijie has already fallen. If those photos get leaked and affect her, will you take responsibility? The woman asked as she poked Song Yenshu in the head. The woman poked Song Yenshu in the head. Of course, they weren't employees of Hai Rui, so they weren't afraid of Mo Ting. I can take responsibility. How are you going to take responsibility? You deserve to be replaced by Luo Xing. After hearing this, Song Yenshu's expression once again turned ugly. Previously, you shamelessly threw yourself at a man and caused such a commotion that the entire city knew about it. But now, no one is going to help you. In order not to become the center of attention, the woman suggested they settle the matter in the waiting room, and Song Yenshu agreed. But Tang Jingxian witnessed the entire scene and saw her clench her fists. This world was made for the strong. If the woman didn't have the guts to bully an artist from Hai Rui, then for a mere manager to be caught by a slightly higher-level actor, she could only blame herself for being unlucky. But just as they were about to leave, Tang Jingxian suddenly stretched out his hand and blocked their way. Where are you going? It seems Luo Tianwang has decided to stand up for Song Yenshu. Seeing the woman's smirk, Tang Jingxian took a step back and said, I don't think you have the right to teach a lesson to someone from Hai Rui. Song Yanshu looked at Tang Jingxian with a complicated expression. But Tang Jingxian ignored her and pretended not to see her eyes. You're still embroiled in a scandal, yet you're sticking your nose into someone else's business? Tang Jingxian couldn't be bothered talking to the woman, so he pulled Song Yanshu behind him and protected her. Yijie, give me some face. It's not easy to survive in the industry. The woman called Yijie flipped her long black hair and shrugged. As long as you can guarantee that I won't end up on the headlines tomorrow because of a fall. No problem, Tang Jingxian nodded. Right now it was time to discuss Tongning and W.H. Who would want to see an actress that had been in the industry for so many years, yet had never even won a newcomer award? Fine, this is what you promised. Yijie did not pursue the matter as she waved her hand and left with her manager. Soon, only Tang Jingxian and Song Yanshu remained in the theater. Tang Jingxian placed his hands in his pockets. He had no intention of speaking to Song Yanshu. He simply sighed and prepared to leave. At this time, Song Yanshu quickly held him back. Let's have a talk. I'm still trying to help you hold on to the remaining 2 concerts. No need, Tang Jingxian replied. Luoxing, some things aren't as simple as you think. Can you not give up on yourself like this? I know I've let Ningjie down. I want to make up for it. Make up for it? What did you do wrong? Tang Jingxian laughed in self-ridicule. Don't force yourself because of me. If I say it's no need, then it's no need. He had already announced his retirement, so what was the point of attending so many fan meetings? Chapter 525. Luoxing. This time, Tang Jingxian once again turned around, but he did not look back. Emotions made him feel tired, so he decided he needed a good rest. Song Yanshu watched as Tang Jingxian left, but she had no right to stop him. She was no longer related to him. She could barely be considered as his ex-manager. Tang Jingxian entered the underground parking lot alone. After that, he saw Sister Yi and her agent in the garage. Luoxing, do you have time for a drink? I'm sorry, Yijie. How about another day? Tang Jingxian rejected. Aren't you afraid that I'll cause trouble for your ex-manager again? Yijie asked Tang Jingxian with a dignified and generous smile. It's just one drink. In fact, I can guarantee that it will only be one drink. Tang Jingxian wasn't stupid. Of course he knew what Yijie's motive was. She was already quite old, but her acting skills were still mediocre. She had always been a supporting actress, so of course she was anxious. After all, for an actor, if they didn't have the ability, they needed to have youth and a pretty face. If they didn't have either, then they would have to rely on external factors. For example, him. Tang Jingxian was the current king of entertainment, and had always been a hot topic. He was also the 4th master of Tang Court, and Tongning's younger brother. As long as his name was mentioned, it was bound to attract attention. No wonder Yijie had her eyes on Tang Jingxian. She wanted to create hype. Tang Jingxian closed the car door and stared coldly at Sister Yi, who was sitting opposite him. His eyes were filled with disgust for scheming. Okay, but I will decide the location. Tang Jingxian laughed. Seeing Tang Jingxuan's straightforwardness, Yijie quickly nodded her head in fear that he would regret his decision. Okay. Please get in the car. Tang Jingxian walked over to the back door of the sports car and opened it like a gentleman, allowing Yijie and her manager to board. Afterwards, the corners of his lips curved upwards into a mocking smile. Before he drove off, he pulled out his phone and sent a text message. Yijie's real name was Zhao Qini. In reality, she was around the same age as Mo Ting. But perhaps because she wanted to attract attention, she dressed up in a mature and dignified manner. In fact, it made her look 5 years older. Afterwards, the car sped down the road. As they were heading to an unfamiliar place, Yijie immediately asked, "Where are we going?" "To a place you never expected." Zhao Qini thought that Tang Jingxian was lusting after her, and wanted to take advantage of the situation to bring her home. So she couldn't help but feel a little smug. Soon, Tang Jingxian unknowingly drove the car into Hyatt Regency, and entered the high-class villa that Zhao Qini had never been to before. "We're here, get out of the car." Tang Jingxian pulled open the car door and gestured for Zhao Qini and Mo Ting to step out. "This is your home?" Zhao Qini looked at the villa in front of her, which was decorated with Spanish palaces, and was shocked. "You'll know when you get in." Tang Jingxian smiled and led the two of them to the front door of the villa. Of course, because Tongning knew beforehand, she left the door open for him so he could easily open it. This further confirmed Zhao Qini's suspicions that this was Tang Jingshuan's current residence. After all, not many people had actually entered Hyatt Regency. The security here was extremely tight, and it was impossible for anyone to sneak in. Even the most experienced paparazzi wouldn't be able to escape the security system of the entire estate. However, as soon as they stepped into the villa, Zhao Qini froze in place. Tongning reclined on the sofa, lazily leaning against the cushion as she hugged a soft pillow in her arms. Of course, it was to cover her stomach. Most importantly, she was wearing a white turtleneck sweater, and her black hair was tied up in a bun. She exuded an otherworldly aura that made one feel envious and couldn't help but steal a few more glances. She was obviously a few years older than Tongning. But in front of Tongning, Zhao Qini seemed to feel inferior. The feeling of inferiority spread from the depths of her heart to her limbs. "I heard Miss Zhao invited my brother for a drink. Since you're both going to drink, why don't you come over to my place?" Tongning said in a gentle voice. "Please have a seat. Make yourself at home." But in reality, who would dare to treat this place as their home? Tongning on her own was enough to strike fear into people's hearts. Not to mention, Mo Ting was backing her up. It's getting late. I think I'll come back another day." Zhao Qini's voice trembled a little. Perhaps, even she realized she had lost her composure. "I sleep late anyway, it's fine," Tongning replied slowly, like she was purposely trying to torment Zhao Qini. "I think I should go." Zhao Qini couldn't help but be afraid of Tongning's aura, so all she could do was run away. However, just as she turned around, Tongning suddenly called out to her. "Yijie, I don't like to quit halfway through a game. Since it's already started, you should follow the rules." Tongning stood up. Her voice was no longer as casual as before. Instead, it was fierce and imposing. "From now on, if you see Luo Xing, it's best you take a detour. Otherwise, I will end your life. If you want to use this opportunity to increase your exposure, you can go look for someone else. I have no objections. But don't provoke my brother. Otherwise, don't even think about becoming famous in your next life, let alone in this one." Zhao Qini turned around and bowed to Tongning. "I understand. Next time, if you want to ask my brother out for a drink, you can come straight to Hyatt Regency. He is a bit busy, but I am a bit free at the moment." Tongning raised an eyebrow. "Yijie, what do you think?" Yijie was a little surprised, but in the end, she nodded her head obediently. At this moment, apart from fear, there was no room for anything else in her heart. Tongning, this supermodel, this actress and this mysterious character had completely exceeded her understanding of women. "I will listen to you." Tongning laughed mockingly and did not say another word. This time, she simply wanted Zhao Qini to wake up to reality. In this world, not every bad idea could be taken advantage of. There would always be an Oriole lurking behind. As he watched the two women flee, Tang Jingxian stood to one side, wanting to laugh, but not daring to. It was only after the two women had left that he revealed a rare smile. "Jie, your aura is quite impressive. You are able to suppress people. So, you didn't even ask your brother-in-law before you brought her here?" Tongning glared at him. Chapter 526. Who told you to be fast, accurate, and ruthless? Tang Jingxian gave Tongning a thumbs up before he sat down on the sofa and continued, "I've watched WH. Sis, you are amazing. I don't think anyone in this world is more suitable to be an actress than you. I've also watched the other films. To be honest, although the other popular female leads are all good at acting, they aren't as amazing as you. Are you saying this because I am your sister?" Tongning subconsciously furrowed her brows. "This is what I truly feel. Tongning had not seen the film yet, so she couldn't understand how she felt. You haven't seen it yet, right? After you've seen it, you will be impressed by yourself. Just as Tang Jingxian was getting excited, he saw Emoting walk out of the study dressed in a black turtleneck. His steps were steady and powerful like a king. Don't you want your sister to get some rest? What time is it already? Tang Jingxian knew this was the limit of Emoting's patience, so he quickly stood up from the sofa and waved his hand. I'm leaving. Sis, get some rest and help me send my regards to my nephew. Tongning watched as Tang Jingxian sped off and finally revealed a helpless smile. She then held onto Emoting's hand and said coquettishly, I understand. I won't do it again. We can't just leave him like this, right? Emoting did not say a word as his eyes sparkled like diamonds. This bastard kept causing trouble every other day. It was time to find a way to deal with him. W.H. breaks $100 million box office on first day. Reputation and popularity skyrocket. W.H. breaks new record for fastest domestic film to break $100 million. W.H. has heaven-defying numbers. It turns out domestic disaster films still have a chance. After watching W.H., I didn't feel scared or disappointed. I felt like crying. Crying tears of joy. I didn't expect to see such a dedicated director and such excellent actors in my lifetime. I can't help but praise the monsters in W.H. for their acting skills are better than the current celebrities. The plot is well balanced, the dialogue is meticulous, the action scenes are shocking and the special effects are conscientious. Bai Chendong's acting is as good as ever. No wonder he is a national treasure. Tongning's explosive power is amazing. I was shocked a few times by her reaction. It was like I was in the real world. She is amazing. From now on, I will definitely watch all of her films. Although I don't like disaster films and find it depressing, it is a fact that Tongning's acting beats all the other popular actresses. Online, most of the reviews for W.H. were positive. This was because the entire production team had put their heart and soul into this film. They were extremely sincere in their approach to producing a good film. The Fei Tian Awards are about to be announced. It's a good film and a good actress. Although the other movies were good, W.H. really shocked me. In the past, I always thought that Chinese disaster movies were for idiots, but W.H. has given me hope. It's a good movie with good actors. As W.H. continued to run, Tongning's popularity and reputation once again rose to new heights. She used her attitude and professionalism to prove to everyone that she was a trustworthy actress. Of course, because of the reputation of W.H., Tongning's supporters far surpassed the other popular actresses. Everyone was discussing this year's Fei Tian Awards and believed she had the highest chance of winning. Late at night, Tongning finally awoke from her drowsiness. To her surprise, Emoting was sitting on the edge of her bed and staring into her eyes. You're back? Why didn't you wake me up? I couldn't bear to. Emoting carried Tongning in his arms and led her into the wardrobe. Get changed. We need to go somewhere. Emoting did not explain. He simply wrapped Tongning tightly in his clothes and led her into the car. Tongning had no idea what Emoting was planning until they arrived at the cinema. What if someone finds out? Tongning looked around anxiously. I've already made arrangements. The two of us will be the first to enter and the last to leave. No one will notice us. Emoting smiled as he led Tongning into the VIP theater. Today we will watch a film like a normal couple. The name of the film is W.H. I'm sure Mrs. Emo has heard of it before. Tongning froze for a moment as her heart suddenly warmed up. She knew how busy Emoting had been recently, but Emoting always placed her first. He even remembered something as simple as not watching W.H. I don't think my acting is good enough. It's not up to you to decide. Emoting helped her sit down as people began to stream into the theater. Originally, she thought it would only be a few people and the attendance wouldn't be too high. But less than a minute after the film started, the theater was already filled to the brim. There were no empty seats. Tongning could even hear the whispers from the rows in front and behind her. Wow, it's a full house. Of course, With such a good reputation, it would be strange if it wasn't full. Let me tell you, this is the third time I've watched it. The first time I watched it myself, the second time I invited my family, and the third time I invited my friends. Is it really that good? You will definitely cry from the shock. Hearing these words, Tongning felt proud and excited. At the same time, she felt nervous. She knew from now on, these people would have even higher expectations of her. Soon, all the spotlights in the theater were switched off as the film began to flash on the large screen. During the entire 100 minutes, even Tongning couldn't help but clench her fists for the female lead. It was a wonderful feeling. Mo Ting observed her reaction from start to finish, and suddenly felt Tongning had such a cute side to her. Shocking, it's so shocking. Wow, Tongning's acting is godly. I'm getting goosebumps from the scare. As soon as the film finished, everyone couldn't help but cheer. However, at this time the person in charge of the screening said, "Everyone, please don't leave yet. There will be an Easter egg." Hearing that there would be an Easter egg, everyone returned to their seats and waited expectantly. But what appeared on the screen was highlights from Tongning and Bai Qindong's filming of W.H. During filming at the seaside, Tongning's clothes were rarely dry. At times, even her mouth was covered in sand. During filming at the village, Tongning was covered in blood from head to toe. Even the staff vomited from the smell. Yet, at this time, Tongning had to play the role of comforting others. Seeing this, film fans could feel Tongning's sincerity as an actress. If we don't give Tongning a Fei Tian award this time, we won't be able to explain ourselves. Chapter 527. Mo Ting watched intently from start to finish. This was Tongning's first female lead in every sense of the word. Tongning looked at Mo Ting nervously. A moment later, a gentle smile appeared on his face. "Why are you looking at me like that?" "I want to hear your opinion," Tongning replied. "Because you know best how to evaluate an actor." "Is it my honor to be admired by Mrs. Mo?" Mo Ting wrapped his arm around Tongning and placed his chin on top of her head. "I don't actually want to say anything. Everyone here is expressing their feelings towards this film, and I am just one of them. Ning, you've already done very well. From now on, you can do even better. With W.H., you can definitely win the Fei Tian Best Newcomer Award." Mo Ting wasn't trying to comfort her, he was speaking the truth. In fact, Tongning's abilities had exceeded his expectations. Especially when she was acting with Bai Qindong, the tension between the two was so intense that everyone could feel the thrill of the action. The Best Newcomer Award. This was the dream of all newcomers, and Tongning was no exception. Otherwise, she wouldn't be looking forward to it. However, just as her film W.H. was being screened, the media suddenly released an explosive piece of news. The little heavenly king Luoxing was dating an unknown actress, Zhao Qini, who was 10 years older than him. In fact, there was even a photo of them in a car together. Apparently, Zhao Qini even entered Hyatt Regency with Luoxing to get Tongning's approval. "Yijie doesn't seem to be trustworthy," Tongning said with a hint of ridicule. "Not necessarily. She doesn't have the guts," Mo Ting said as he stared into Tongning's eyes. "She might even be used. Let Jingxian handle it himself." This time, Tongning had no intention of getting involved. But to everyone's surprise, Tang Jingxian was supposed to step out and explain himself. After all, so many fans were attracted to him because he was young and handsome. Now that he was being rumored to be 10 years older than him, his fragile heart would be shattered. "I hope Luoxing can step out and clarify everything. Why would such an old woman want to ruin my Luoxing? Luoxing, are you blind? If this is true, I will stop being your fan. Zhao Qini is too shameless. Is she trying to rob the cradle?" The official websites of Luoxing's fan club and various fan clubs were flooded with comments. Thanks to his relationship with Tongning, Luoxing was going to stay on the hot search list for a few more days. So when Fang Yu directly asked him for his opinion, he simply replied, "I was originally going to sing one last show anyway. Reputation doesn't matter. Let's just help Yijie out." Fang Yu used his right hand to support his left elbow as he leaned against the floor-to-ceiling glass and replied, This matter indeed has nothing to do with Zhao Qini. She was sold out by her manager. Otherwise, it would not have been revealed so many days after the incident. This is obviously because they are short on money. Are you okay? Ha. Tang Jingxian didn't quite understand what Feng Yu meant. I'm referring to her. Don't you care what she thinks? Feng Yu hinted at Song Yanshu. Tang Jingxian looked at Feng Yu in a daze. It seemed he had not thought about the consequences. But a moment later, he regained his composure and shook his head. This is my business, it has nothing to do with her. Fine as you wish, Feng Yu sighed. If you have time, you should write some songs. After all, the agency has spent a lot of money on you. You need to put in some effort for your brother-in-law to be able to establish his authority in front of others. I understand. After chatting with Feng Yu for a while, Tang Jingxian left Feng Yu's office. However, at the end of the corridor, he spotted Song Yanshu anxiously leaning against the railing. Tang Jingxian pretended not to see her. Just as he was about to walk in the opposite direction, Song Yanshu turned her head and spotted him. Luo Xing. What's the matter? Tang Jingxian asked calmly. Don't you plan to give a public explanation for this incident? I refuse to believe that you are in a relationship with Yi Jia. We are indeed in a relationship, Tang Jingxian interrupted. Otherwise, with my status and Hai Rui's power, do you think Zhao Qini would be able to expose something like this so easily? But your concert is just around the corner. Miss Song, this has nothing to do with you. Tang Jingxian mercilessly revealed the truth before he turned and left. Song Yanshu could only watch helplessly as Tang Jingxian left. Tang Jingxian was right, this had nothing to do with her. But this wasn't the worst. Because someone even revealed that Yi Jia was pregnant, and the child belonged to Tang Jingxian. Oh God, if this is true, then all I can say is that Luo Xing is blind. No matter what, I will not accept an old and ugly woman. Song Yanshu would sometimes hide at home and watch the news. Whenever she came across any comments that were directed at Tang Jingxian, she would delete them. But this time the malicious comments came in full force. She couldn't handle them all on her own. Afterwards, she thought about it in her mind. It seemed, from the moment the two of them laid their cards on the table, Tang Jingxian had not been normal. Was this all because of her? Thinking of this, Song Yanshu's expression was full of regret and distress. She wanted so badly to reach out and help Tang Jingxian, but the situation was worse than she expected. If she had known, she wouldn't have hidden her feelings. However, the most unexpected thing was yet to come. Because of Tang Jingshuan's scandal, the fan club was greatly affected. More than half of the fans refunded their tickets. This made the organizers feel extremely awkward. It was hard for them to back down. In the end, the host of the fan club approached Tang Jingxian and asked for his opinion. Right now, you only have one choice. You can give up. No. There is a second choice. I will pay. Even if not a single fan turns up, it doesn't matter. Tang Jingxian simply wanted to give himself an explanation. The host looked at him meaningfully and sighed as he nodded his head. Should I ask Tongning for help? No need. Tang Jingxian shook his head. This is my business. Don't disturb my sister. The host looked at Tang Jingxian like he was an idiot. He couldn't understand what was wrong with his brain. If something like this was set as a precedent, it would change the rules of the industry. This was something that people in the industry would be ashamed of. Okay, the fan club will continue as planned. Tang Jingxian thanked the host once again. Tang Jingxian thanked the other party again. However, as he looked at the last stage in front of him, he suddenly felt nostalgic for the time when he was full of passion. But this time the fan club. No fans turned up. No. Chapter 528. I've never seen a singer in such a pitiful state. Are we still going to be his accompaniment? The musician asked as he looked at the empty audience on stage. Yeah, I've been an accompanist for over 10 years. What an eye-opener. The drummer sat down in his seat and played with his neatly combed hair. It makes me feel a little sympathetic towards Luo Xing. What's the point of sympathizing? He needs the audience to sympathize with him. How big of a deal is it? I really admire Luo Xing's courage. He's been extremely popular this year. The last time he performed in another city, there wasn't a single empty seat in a 10,000 capacity venue. What a shame. In reality, Tang Jingxian already knew what the situation was like outside. But he continued to sit in front of his dressing table and prepare like he always did. In this industry, if you could enjoy the glory of being the center of attention, you also needed to understand the misery of being abandoned. 5 minutes before the show started, Tang Jingxian was already dressed in a dark gray tuxedo and ready to go on stage. But at this time he received a phone call from Tongning. Don't be afraid. Even if you have nothing left, you still have your family. Tang Jingxuan's heart was suddenly deeply moved by Tongning. If one were to say that he was slightly timid and hesitant a moment ago, then, after hearing that Tongning still had her family, he immediately relaxed. As he put down his phone, he gave the staff an OK sign. Seeing his determination, the host no longer felt awkward as he stepped onto the stage like there were millions of fans in front of him. However, what he didn't expect was that in the audience, there was someone sitting in the middle of the VIP seats. Although this person wasn't a fan, her presence was enough to rival millions of fans. The host was a little surprised as he became a little emotional. After all, Tongning's current position was not something a small host like him could see. So he couldn't help but feel a little nervous. Perhaps sensing the awkwardness on his face, Tongning looked at the host and smiled. It was this smile that the host would never forget this special night for the rest of his life. Afterwards, he regained his composure and reminded himself to treat this as a rehearsal. So he quickly got into the zone. Next, let's welcome our heavenly star, Luo Xing. As the stage lights flickered, Tongning saw Tang Jingxian jump out from behind a mirror dressed in a black leather suit with his dancers. He was originally good at soft love songs, but for the last fan club in his life, he put on the hottest clothes and danced the most captivating dance. Of course, Tang Jingxian did not expect to see Tongning amongst the empty audience. But when he thought about Tongning's words of encouragement, he suddenly realized, in this world, even if everyone abandoned him, his family would not. Tongning would never do that. Just like that, Tang Jingxian danced and glowed. His eyes unconsciously became moist. After 3 minutes of passion, Tang Jingxian ended the dance with a handsome pose and walked over to the MC, panting. Luo Xing today. Host, actually, you don't have to be so restrained. Just do whatever you want today. If possible, can you pass the microphone to me? I have something to say. Actually, this fan club was being streamed live online. Although not many people were paying attention, Tongning had prepared another gift for Tang Jingxian. She rented the biggest television in Beijing and broadcast his fan club live. Okay, the MC nodded. Firstly, I would like to say hello to all my fans, even though none of you came, Tang Jingxian said with a hint of sadness as he bowed to everyone. Tang Jingxian said with a hint of sadness in his voice. But he still bowed to everyone. However, I won't feel any regrets. Below the stage, there are still my beloved family members. Firstly, I would like to clarify that there is no special relationship between Miss Zhao and I am not the father of the child in her stomach. The so-called evidence is simply because I invited Miss Zhao to Hyatt Regency. As you all understand, this industry needs to be hyped up. As for me, I simply asked my sister 3 to tactfully tell Miss Zhao that I did not want to cooperate. As for what happened afterwards, I don't want to explain. Before I entered the industry, I admit that I thought being a celebrity's job was to be liked. But after entering the industry, I realized, this industry is a lot dirtier and darker than I thought. Feelings are fake, talent is fake, and sometimes even fans are fake. Following on, I would like to sing a song called Self-Hypnosis to the people that abandoned me today. Because of you, I have learned that reality is irreversible, but the human heart is hard to predict. After Tang Jingxian finished speaking, the soothing music on the stage finally began to play. Tang Jingxian quickly immersed himself into the sad love song. Abandonment is salvation, but when you turn around, it becomes nothing. Tang Jingxuan's voice was transmitted to every corner of Beijing's biggest television screen. As for those that saw this, they couldn't help but stop in their tracks. There was no audience. There were no fans. But he was still himself, the little heavenly king that loved to sing. Actually, I've wanted to say this for a long time. After the song ended, Tang Jingxian suddenly said to the camera in seriousness, "Life is a jerk, but this industry is even more of a jerk. I know a lot of people want me to disappear from this industry because I've disgusted you. Since I've said this much, then I would like to say to everyone, I will do as you wish. I, Luo Xing, hereby announce that from tonight onwards, I will be retreating from the entertainment industry and will never sing again. In fact, I will never step foot into this industry again. In the past, I sang because I liked it. Later on, it was because of my fans. But when faced with fans that can turn against me overnight, I feel there's nothing else worth sacrificing my youth for. After all, my family is still waiting for me. From this moment onwards, I am Tang Jingxian, the fourth master of the Tang family and the future successor of Tang Core." With that, Tang Jingxian took off his costume and tossed it into the air. "Lastly, I would like to thank you for your temporary love and thank you for your current hatred." After speaking, Tang Jingxian took a few steps back and bowed to everyone. He then elegantly stepped off the stage and headed towards Tongning. It seemed he no longer had any attachment to the industry. Meanwhile, the internet was in an uproar. In order to prove his innocence, the little heavenly king Luo Xing announced his retreat from the industry. Chapter 529. Luo Xing retreats from the industry. Luo Xing announces his retreat from the entertainment industry. Luo Xing announces his retreat from the industry without any hesitation. "Songjia, have you seen the news tonight? It's explosive. Your former singer Luo Xing has announced his retreat from the industry." Inside the waiting room, one of Song Yenshu's artists laughed as she handed a phone to Song Yenshu. "I heard that not a single fan turned up at the concert tonight. I've never seen anyone worse off than him." Hearing Luo Xing retreat from the industry, Song Yenshu was a little surprised. She immediately put down the magazine in her hands and received the phone with trembling hands. "That's impossible." "Why is it impossible? All the news outlets are reporting about it. Hayes, I used to like his songs. I'm so unlucky this time." Song Yenshu could no longer hear anything else. Her mind was blank and her heart felt like it was being stabbed by needles. Even though she wasn't sure what her feelings towards Tang Jingxian were, one thing was clear. Luo Xing's decision to retire from the industry was largely because of the hurt she had caused him. With this thought, Song Yenshu immediately pulled out her phone and gave Tang Jingxian a phone call. But there was no response. Song Yenshu then tried to contact Tongning, but Tongning's phone was turned off. "No. Luo Xing can't retreat from the industry," Song Yenshu mumbled to herself. "Songjia, what's wrong?" Song Yenshu's artists asked worriedly after seeing her in a daze. However, Song Yenshu couldn't care less as she rushed out of the waiting room. But by the time she arrived at the venue where Tang Jingxuan's concert was held, the entire venue had already been emptied. All that was left behind were 2 to 3 staff cleaning up. "Where's Luo Xing?" Song Yenshu asked as she grabbed onto one of them. "He left a long time ago. Why would he stay here? Hayes, the industry these days is full of hostility. He was such a good young man, yet he kept using him to create rumors. Now he's been forced to leave. As for his fans, they were still in love with him yesterday, yet today, they're already gnashing their teeth in hatred. How cheap are their feelings?" The middle-aged man scoffed. After hearing the man's words, Song Yenshu felt even worse. That's right. During Luo Xing's most difficult time, she had led another artist to compete with him for resources. She suddenly thought back to what Luo Xing had said at the time. Either be his woman, or be a stranger. She always thought Luo Xing was still young and would forget about it after some time, but she never imagined, after Xia Jingyi dealt such a heavy blow to Luo Xing, she would actually add another bloody stab to Tang Jingxuan's body. Luo Xing. The female lead of Luo Xing's scandal, Zhao Qini, made a public appearance saying, "Luo Xing is innocent." Manager manipulated from behind the scenes. Zhao Qini proves Luo Xing's innocence. The child's father is an Asian businessman. He has nothing to do with Luo Xing. Less than half an hour after Tang Jingxian announced his retirement from the entertainment industry, Zhao Qini released a series of announcements through her agency to prove Tang Jingshuan's innocence, as well as evidence of his manager manipulating things behind the scenes. After that, Zhao Qini accepted an interview with the media. Her face was full of tears, and she looked haggard. First of all, I would like to sincerely apologize to all of you for the negative impact that I have brought to the public. However, this incident has nothing to do with Luo Xing, and he has not done anything wrong. In reality, this was the first time we met at the premiere of WH. If you don't believe me, you can check our schedules. Since we've only just met, we can't possibly be lovers. Even though I had bad intentions, Luo Xing never cooperated. This entire incident has been a misunderstanding from start to finish. I never expected to hurt Luo Xing so much. Especially after hearing the words he said at the concert, I feel extremely guilty. That's why I've come out to clarify everything. If you want to scold me, then direct it at me. This incident has nothing to do with Luo Xing. Lastly, I want to say something that I've been holding in my heart all night. I also saw the situation at Luo Xing's concert on the big screen. To be honest, if I was Luo Xing, I would be extremely disappointed. What do you think, fans? After speaking, Zhao Qini turned to the cameras and bowed deeply. Then, she left under the protection of her assistant. This Zhao Qini is hilarious. When she was in trouble, she didn't step out to clarify everything. Instead, she's running away so quickly now, the media side. At least she knows to take responsibility for the situation. Haven't a lot of male artists suffered because of things like this? Yet they can't say anything about it. Another reporter replied. But Luo Xing's fans have indeed crossed the line. After all, he's an artist that they once liked. Yet, not a single one of them attended the concert. Haven't you seen things like this before? But Luo Xing doesn't care. After all, even if he doesn't become a singer, he is still the young master of Tangkor. Isn't it great for him to return home and take over the family business? Good riddance to this fucked up industry. So Luo Xing was indeed slandered and there was nothing between him and Zhao Qini. However, whether it was his fans or Song Yanshu, Tang Jingshuan's departure was like a powerful slap across the face. Sob, I regret not trusting Luo Xing. He actually left the industry. He left just like that. He must have been too disappointed in us. Luo Xing, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Fans issued a series of apologies. In fact, one even bought an entire page of the newspaper to print an apology letter to Luo Xing. But there were some things that could be redone over and over again. But there were some things that, once missed, would never happen again. Song Yanshu spent the entire night looking for Tang Jingxian. In fact, she even went to the Tang family home. But he was supposed to be at Hyatt Regency. Song Yanshu was too ashamed to see him, so she could only return empty-handed. Song Jia, where did you go? I didn't see you at the event. Facing her own artist, Song Yanshu couldn't help but tear up. Did I miss out on the most beautiful Luo Xing? What are you talking about? Song Yanshu looked at Song Yanshu in a daze. She suddenly lost control of her emotions. I actually wanted to apologize to him. I never expected that he would be so disappointed. Song Jia, what's wrong? Song Yanshu calmed herself down and shook her head. All she had in her mind was, would she ever see him again? Does that mean I won't be able to see Luo Xing anymore? How could he give up on everything so easily? Was his singing career really that easy for him to give up? Actually, Song Yanshu didn't understand. Did she mind if Tang Jingxian gave up on his identity as a singer, or if it was so easy for him to say goodbye to her? Chapter 530. After Tang Jingxian announced his retreat from the industry, his previous works naturally climbed to the top of the music charts and became popular around him. But no matter what his fans said or how much they apologized to him, from the night of the fan club, he never appeared in public again. He also cut off all contact with them. It was almost like he had never appeared in the entertainment industry. But what did the popular songs that he left behind count for? Above all, at the end of the year he received quite a few music awards. But because he announced his retreat from the industry, All of his glory was collected by someone from Hai Rui. In fact, every time, the representative simply said, Luo Xing would like to thank everyone for their support. It was a very official and cold sentence without any hint of gratitude. After all, he didn't need to thank anyone. Everything he did was due to his own hard work. Hearing these words, his fans and Song Yanshu felt a sharp pain in their hearts. Only they knew that Tang Jingxuan's disappointment in them was far more than that. Late at night, Tang Jingxian was packing his luggage at the Tang family villa, when Elder Tang walked over to his room with the help of his walking stick. He then sat on the edge of his bed and asked, Have you made up your mind? Are you going to the US to further your studies? Grandfather, don't worry. This time, I've thought about it carefully. Tang Jingxian replied helplessly. Is it because of that woman? Elder Tang asked cautiously. He hadn't seen Tang Jingxian smile for the past few days. For the sake of a woman, you're willing to leave your family and travel so far away? After a short pause, Tang Jingxian put down the clothes in his hands and said in seriousness, Grandfather, through this incident, I've seen clearly what my true value is. I admit, I do feel a little regretful. But please believe me, this time, the main reason I am going is to shoulder the responsibility of the Tang family. Sister 3 was born to be an actress. The film industry will allow her to shine brightly. So let me shoulder the responsibility of the Tang family. Are you serious about this? Elder Tang asked. In reality, deep down, he already believed that Tang Jingxian had the motivation and plans to move forward. After all, his sister had already done so much for him. I couldn't be more sincere. Grandfather, while I'm gone, please take care of yourself. Don't get too close to Tang Xian. That woman is crazy. Who knows what else she's up to? Grandpa Tang sighed, patted Tang Jingxian on the shoulder, and finally nodded. Be careful when you go out this time. The flight is at 7 a.m. tomorrow, right? Grandpa will send you off. No need, Grandpa. I can go by myself. Tang Jingxian was determined to leave. All right then. This result was completely within Tang Ning's expectations. After all, this was how Tang Jingxian truly looked like a member of the Tang family. She shouldn't have judged Tang Jingxuan's feelings so early. Obviously, after this incident, he already knew whether or not Song Yanshu was suitable for him. Perhaps there was still room for them to grow. But who knew what the future would hold? To avoid being recognized, Tang Jingxian arrived at Beijing Airport at 5 a.m. the next day. Of course, he was a popular figure at the moment, so even under the circumstances, there were still people who recognized him. Is that Luo Xing? I think so. Luo Xing, faced with the girls that suddenly surrounded him, Tang Jingxuan's attitude was relatively cold. He crossed his arms and said, I'm sorry, you've got the wrong person. You are obviously Luo Xing. Yes, that's right. Tang Jingxian did not say a word because he was about to pass through security. The girls seemed to have sensed the distance between them, so they did not say a word, even though they kept snapping photos of him from behind. Soon, the plane took off. As Tang Jingxian was seated in first class, he received the peace and quiet he wanted. From today onwards, he couldn't be weak and he couldn't refuse. He needed to protect Tang Ning and the Tang family. He needed to get rid of his cowardice and completely change himself. However, his trip to the US was also captured by a fan and was exposed online. Song Jia, have you been in a daze these past few days because of him? Inside Hai Rui's waiting room, one of Song Yanshu's artists handed her a piece of news she had just seen. He's gone to the US. Song Yanshu froze for a moment. After 3 seconds, she once again received the phone from Mo Ting. Seeing Tang Jingxian leave Beijing fully armed, Song Yanshu's heart once again sank to the bottom of the valley. It was like something had flown away with him, and all that was left was an empty shell. Afterwards, Song Yanshu gave Tang Ning a phone call. Ning Jia. Yanshu, what's wrong? Tang Ning asked despite knowing the answer. I want to know why Luo Xing. He's gone overseas to further his studies. I don't think you'll see him for the next few years. Tang Ning replied calmly. Oh, then I wish him a bright future. Song Yanshu didn't know how she hung up the phone. All she knew was, as soon as she put it down, her heart was completely empty. Not only had Tang Jingxian left the industry, he had left without hesitation. This was what she had hoped for. So why? Why did she feel so much regret? Or perhaps, Tang Jingshuan's motive was to make her regret for the rest of her life? Inside Hyatt Regency, Tongning had just put down her phone. Seeing her furrowed brows, Ting couldn't help but rub her forehead. You always have an endless amount of worries. Ting, are you saying that the rascal and Yenshu are no longer fated? Tongning couldn't help but lean into Ting's embrace. I don't care if their fate ends or not. All I know is I want you to receive the Fei Tian Best Newcomer Award. Ting said in seriousness. W.H. has only been released for a short period of time, but it has already broken many box office records. Did you know? Everyone is full of praise for you. Even the old man personally told me that your acting in W.H. amazed him. But I heard that grandfather has been invited to be a judge for this year's Fei Tian Awards. Tongning lifted her head and looked at Ting. Did you get this information from Longjia? That's true. But don't expect grandfather to go easy on you. Of course I know grandfather won't. I'm just afraid that others will think the same way. I hope the award in my hands will be truly valuable. Tongning couldn't help but worry. According to her experience, the Fei Tian Awards weren't going to be easy to receive. Chapter 531. Of course, the Fei Tian Awards weren't easy to win. After all, it was the dream of every actor. Not only were their competitors capable, they also had some tricks up their sleeves. Even if the results couldn't be falsified, there were still plenty of people that would run around for the chance to win the award. Even so, Ting was determined to win the Best Newcomer Award. He had already made Tongning give up too much. The international stage, the glory of being a supermodel, an immeasurable net worth and her most primal dream. With this thought, Ting's eyes lit up with seriousness. After all, the only person in this world that could make him give his 100% was Tongning. The Fei Tian Awards was made up of 3 parts. 20% came from the audience, 50% came from the professional judges and 30% came from the results of the awards. In other words, apart from the fact that the audience could be manipulated, the other 2 categories were practically impossible to manipulate. After all, the Fei Tian Awards had been around for so many years and had maintained its impartiality and recognition. This was all because of its transparency. As for the 20% that could be manipulated, it was the least important part. In reality, it was also a representation of an actor's appeal, but it had no effect on the judging of the awards. Why do we need to win the Best Newcomer Award? With our acting, we can directly win the Best Actress Award. Inside the living room, Tongning watched as Longjia looked at the information in her hands. She couldn't help but laugh. You can't eat everything in one go. Plus, the Fei Tian Awards are only chosen by the truly capable people. I've heard that every year, the judges would end up fighting each other over the award. From this, it's clear to see how valuable the Fei Tian Awards is. This was the reason why Tongning was so excited. After all, she wanted to see how good her acting was in the eyes of the professionals. With your current popularity and the fact that you've been hiding at home for a few months, you don't need to worry about the voting. As long as they do their best, Tongning laughed. After all, the opinions of the judges were the most important to her. Longjia was silent for a moment before her eyes landed on Tongning's stomach. She pointed to it and asked, "When does boss plan to announce your pregnancy? Is there a need to rush something like this?" Tongning asked as she rubbed her stomach. "When the time is right, I will naturally reveal it to the public." After hearing this, Longjia suddenly fell silent. Deep down, she knew that Tongning had to be prepared for something as explosive as this. Or to be exact, she had a plan in mind that she wanted to achieve. However, at this moment, Tongning's eyes were filled with a cold light. She was preparing to give Tang Xian and the people that had previously ridiculed her for being infertile a heavy blow. "Hey, isn't that Song Yenshu? Why are you pacing around downstairs?" Longjia subconsciously glanced out the window and saw Song Yenshu standing outside. "She's hesitating whether or not she wants to talk to me," Tongning replied calmly. "What happened?" Longjia looked confused. She had no idea about the entanglement between Song Yanshu and Tang Jingxian. Tongning let out a gentle laugh as she stood up and walked over to the balcony. She shouted downstairs, "Come on up." Song Yanshu felt a little awkward. She never expected to be discovered. Afterwards, she gathered her courage and entered the Spanish palace like home. She tiptoed over to Tongning and said, "Ningjie, I want to talk to you." "Go ahead." "Long Jie isn't an outsider." Tongning gestured with her chin. "I know you want to ask about Jingxian, but I'm sorry, I really don't know what Jingxian is thinking right now. I just want to apologize, but I can't get in touch with him." Song Yanshu smiled bitterly. "You don't need to apologize to him. He left the industry because he was disgusted by the darkness," Tongning comforted. However, these words had no effect on Song Yanshu. "Ningjie, it's not like he hasn't experienced it in the past. But this time why? You need to ask yourself," Tongning interrupted. "Forget it. Yanshu, why are you so serious about making Jingxian famous? What is your motive? Is it because of Jingxian? Or is it because of something else?" As soon as Song Yanshu heard this, she froze. "You were the one that sacrificed your reputation to pull him out of Xiajingyi's swamp. You basically gave him a second chance at love, but if you risked your life for someone else, then to him, it would be more painful than betrayal. He won't be able to help but ask himself, are you just using him?" Song Yanshu's face turned pale. "He is now in a new environment, and is doing well. Yanshu, you need to move forward. You have nothing to do with him, and there is no need to apologize. In other words, what was missed for good. Even if you wanted to get back, it depended on whether the other party was willing to wait for you." Song Yanshu left Hyatt Regency without a word. Meanwhile, Long Jie immediately saw through Tongning's intentions. "Yanshu, you can't tell. After all, we've been together for so many years, so I know you well. What you said just now was to get back at Jingxian." "Did I?" Tongning asked with a smile. "Of course I did. With your vengeful personality, you won't even let the people around you go. I'm simply speaking the truth. Yanshu is meticulous in her work, but that doesn't mean I agree with her sentiments. Above all, the person that Song Yanshu bullied was her brother. She had to teach Song Yanshu a lesson so that her brother's suffering wouldn't be in vain." Late at night, Tang family home. Elder Tang, who had nothing to do, found another hobby to do apart from meditating: to calculate the time of birth for Tang Xian and Tongning's child. Of course, for this reason, Elder Tang even hired a lawyer to prepare a share certificate as a gift for his grandchild. He wanted to transfer 20% of his shares to his first grandchild. 20%. Elder Tang did not hide this from his family. After all, the entire Tang family knew that Tongning was pregnant. Only Tang Xian was kept in the dark. As for the definition of his first grandchild, naturally, the old master had his own standards in mind. Even if Tang Xian's child was born before Tongning's, as the mother, she couldn't take a single cent from her child, because she would be kicked out of the Tang family. But Tang Xian didn't think this way. Somehow, she felt a sense of hope. After all, she had no idea that Tongning was pregnant. "Grandfather, isn't 20% a little too much?" Tang Xian hid the joy on her face and revealed a slightly shocked expression. "Too much? Of course not," Elder Tang replied happily. "But what did these shares have to do with her?" Chapter 532. "Grandfather, I never expected that you would accept me and my child in such a way." Tang Xian couldn't help but sob. Perhaps, at this moment, her heart was truly moved. But Elder Tang would never fall for her tricks again, especially after all the mistakes she had made. Turning over a new leaf? Elder Tang refused to believe that Tang Xian would do such a thing. "Don't say anything else. Go upstairs and get some rest," Elder Tang said as he waved his hand. He didn't want to continue talking half-heartedly with Tang Xian. After all, blood was thicker than water, yet they each had their own thoughts. That in itself was quite ironic. "Okay, grandfather, I'll head upstairs first," Tang Xian said as she held her stomach. But just as she turned around, she noticed Xia Yuling standing behind them with an unreadable expression on her face. Tang Xian assumed that Xia Yuling had already heard that Elder Tang was planning to give his shares to Tang Xian, so she couldn't help but feel proud. Xia Yuling watched as Tang Xian left, but of course, she did not say a word. After Tang Xian left, she sat down beside Elder Tang. Father, what is the meaning of this? Elder Tang held onto his walking stick with both hands and replied in a strict tone. These are my shares. I have the right to decide what to do with them. But, Yuling, you don't need to say anything. Elder Tang held out his hand to stop Xia Yuling. Elder Tang stretched out his hand to stop Xia Yuling. He then stood up and said, I've already made my decision. Follow me to the study room. There's no point in objecting. We can't let Xiao Xian hear about this. After all, she is currently pregnant. Xia Yuling suddenly understood what Elder Tang was trying to say. She glanced behind her from the corner of her eyes, and followed him into the study room. Father. Yuling, I have decided to officially hand over my authority as chairman. I also plan to officially introduce Tongning as the future chairman in front of all the staff. Elder Tang leaned against the study table and sighed. Elder Tang leaned against the study table and sighed. That brat, Tang Xian, is completely hopeless. After she gives birth, just let her go wherever she wants to go. I can't do anything about it. So you're saying that you have no intention of giving your shares to your first grandchild? I'm giving it to my grandson. What does that have to do with Tang Xian? Elder Tang asked with a deeper meaning. Although I know Xiaoning doesn't want to take over Tangkor, I'm getting old. With you here and Jingxian in the future, I think it's time for me to let go of my responsibilities. Xiaoning doesn't need to do much. As long as she is the chairwoman of Tangkor, it will continue to grow. Dad. Elder Tang waved his hand as his lips suddenly curled into a self-deprecating smile. Then it's decided. It's almost time for the holidays and the company's annual staff meeting. Let's take this opportunity to announce this news. Prepare well for Xiaoning to take over in glory. After a moment of silence, Xia Yuling nodded her head. Okay then, we'll do as you say. As for Tang Xian, do as you wish. No need to ask me. I will pretend I never had a granddaughter. Did Elder Tang mean that he had completely given up on Tang Xian? Although Tang Xian was pregnant, when Xia Yuling thought about what she had done in the past, she couldn't bring herself to sympathize with her. At most, she would treat Tang Xian's child a little more fairly from now on. Late at night, Mo Ting carried Tongning out of the bathroom and gently placed her on the bed. He then knelt down and gently stroked her bulging stomach. Mom just gave me a phone call. She wants us to attend Tangkor's annual staff meeting. Tongning said as she lay back on the soft pillow. Tongning leaned against the soft pillow and asked, Hubby, do you think I should go? Since you are now the person in charge of Tangkor, it's only natural that you attend. Mo Ting held on to Tongning's right hand and placed a passionate kiss on the back of it. But I don't think I'll be able to hide the fact that I'm pregnant, Tongning said as she looked down at her stomach. We were going to announce it anyway. Let's start with the employees of Tangkor. Mo Ting let go of Tongning's hand and stood up. He then covered her with the blanket. Don't worry and take our child with you. I will be your strongest support. Tongning nodded her head. She suddenly placed her hands on Mo Ting's handsome face and looked at him seriously for a moment before smiling. I hope I can give birth to a son. That way, I can see you when you were young. I also want you to give birth to a daughter. In that case, let's give birth to two. After speaking, Tongning placed her forehead against Mo Ting's. The couple leaned against each other intimately. On the outside, Mo Ting was still the big boss of the entertainment industry, and the ruthless CEO of Hai Rui. But when it came to Tongning, his warmth remained the same. Because of this, Tongning could imagine that after a few decades, even with a child, Mo Ting would still remain gentle and charming. Tangkor's annual celebration. This was, of course, the day that employees looked forward to the most. After all, on this day every year, Tangkor would give their employees bonuses and benefits. Not only that, Tangkor would also prepare a ball so that every employee could dress up and attend in style. However, this year's annual celebration was going to be a little special. Meanwhile, WH was still in theaters. Of course, the The film's reputation and box office earnings were still a pleasant surprise. Although it was the end of the year, the thrilling scenes from the film were still enough to satisfy film fans. As a result, WH, despite being surrounded by a few other blockbusters, was not affected at all. In fact, compared to the other blockbusters, WH was exceptionally valuable. When is The Lost Lover going to be released? I heard that Tongning will be playing the role of a thug. Isn't that even more enjoyable? Tongning is really amazing. She has created 3 characters in 3 films and every single one of them is so realistic. It's a pity she's been forced to retreat from the industry. All in all, WH is the most enjoyable film I've seen in recent years. I hope Tongning can continue to expand her acting path and not go down the path of an idol film. Let's vote for Tongning this time. I wonder when we'll get to see Tongning again. In reality, it was rare for a situation like this to occur in the entertainment industry. After all, there were newcomers rising to fame every day. As soon as someone lost their exposure, it was easy for them to be forgotten. But Tongning never seemed to lack popularity. Especially after WH exploded in popularity, her popularity skyrocketed. A person that announced that they were retreating from the industry had completely overshadowed all the other popular artists that were currently in front of the public. Tongning's brilliance was sometimes dazzling, but at other times it was annoying. But who would have guessed? Tongning was about to release another explosive piece of news that would excite the media. Chapter 533. Why was this person that had already retreated from the industry, so why was there so many legends about her? It wasn't long before Tangkor held their annual celebration. As it was open to all staff, the atmosphere was extremely grand. This was because when it came to employee welfare, Tangkor had always listened to their wishes. Especially after Xia Yuling became the CEO. She cared for them even more than before. This, of course, increased the cohesiveness of the staff. However, this year's annual celebration was clearly more cohesive than before. This was because they had a very important reason for attending. To see Tongning. Recently, the staff of Tangkor had been completely infatuated with WH. After all, it was a highly acclaimed film. If there was a promotional event or a celebrity meet and greet, they would definitely give it their all. But Tongning had announced that she was retreating from the industry. Even her closest fans couldn't see her in person. So their only chance was to attend the annual celebration. Luckily, we are all employees of Tangkor, so we still have a chance to see Tongning. There are at least 1,000 employees attending the annual celebration in Beijing today. Everyone is dressed to the nines and everyone is glittering. I can't wait to see what Tongning looks like when she comes out. Exactly, she is a supermodel after all. I still prefer her as an actress. Her acting is so good. At the grand annual celebration, under the luxurious chandelier, guests gathered in small groups and chatted amongst themselves. Of course, the hottest topic was, of course, Tongning. Tongning. From August of last year, this name had slowly permeated the entire Beijing. Until today, she had become synonymous with a legend. Even though everyone knew she was married and her husband was the even more legendary CEO of Hai Rui. Do you guys think she will come today? I bet she will. Stop talking. Instead of bringing Tongning back, we ended up bringing the big mistress of pestilence back. Everyone looked towards the end of the red carpet and saw Tang Xian dressed in a long white dress with a light gray fur coat draped over her shoulders. Even though she was in dire straits, she still retained the aura of the big miss of Tangkor. As she supported Elder Tang, step by step, she walked into view. The guests and staff all stepped forward to greet her. In particular, the shareholders and important business partners all stepped forward to shake Elder Tang's hand. Of course, they didn't forget to praise Tang Xian. Elder Tang, if your granddaughter continues to be so beautiful, she will be a goddess. That's right. Even though Xiaoxian is pregnant, her figure is still so good. How enviable. Although Tang Xian knew that this was just a compliment, she still felt satisfied. After all, women love to be complimented. By the way, Where are your second Miss and Tongning? Why don't I see them? As soon as Elder Emo heard the question, he smiled and replied, Yichen still has one more surgery to complete. As for Tongning, she's on her way. As you all know, Beijing is famous for its traffic jams. Of course, Elder Emo, you are so lucky. Our whole family went to watch Tongning's latest film. You've really raised a genius. My son even said that if he sees Tongning, he needs to get her autograph for him. My 2 kids are crazy about her. Ha ha ha, it's just an autograph. This is a small matter. Although today was Tang Kor's annual celebration, hearing everyone's praises, Elder Tang was still overjoyed. Even though he pretended to be calm, he knew deep down that he had underestimated his career as an actor and the entertainment industry. He had never imagined that Tongning would receive so much love and respect from so many people. In fact, along the way, people did notice Tang Xian at first. But every time Tongning's name was mentioned, Tang Xian would completely disappear into the background. It seemed no one noticed her existence anymore. At first, Tang Xian managed to force a smile. But as time went on, the jealousy in her heart burned even stronger. Why didn't Tongning give her a chance to survive? Tongning already had everything. Elder Tang. I'm so honored. I wonder if I'll get to see Tongning today. As another guest approached, Tang Xian couldn't hold back any longer. So she said to Elder Tang, Grandfather, I want to go to the bathroom. Go ahead. Elder Tang knew that she had reached her limit, so he asked Tang Xian to leave. Tang Xian let go of Elder Tang's arm and grabbed her handbag as she left the hall. However, because of her agitated emotions, her footsteps were a little forceful. As a result, she ended up running into a young woman. The woman was wearing a light pink dress. Because of Tang Xian's forceful collision, her dress was covered in red wine, and she looked extremely disheveled. Even so, Tang Xian did not react. She simply glanced at the woman indifferently and prepared to leave. However, at this time, the woman reached out her hand and stopped her. Can't you say sorry after bumping into someone, Miss Tang? Tang Xian was already in a bad mood. So, being provoked by the woman made her even angrier. So she yelled, Fuck off. Fuck off. The woman had never heard anyone say this to her before, so she grabbed onto Tang Xian's wrist. Apologize. Don't look for trouble. I didn't do it on purpose. Since you know I am the big miss of the Tang family, then you should know that this is our territory. The woman looked unusually young, but her eyes were filled with a sharp glow. From her aura, it was easy to tell that she was not an ordinary person. So this is how Tang Kor treats its guests? Because of Tang Xian's attitude, the woman's voice rose in volume. In fact, it even attracted Elder Tang's attention. Elder Tang glanced at the crowd. It was obvious he wanted to step forward and deal with the matter, but a few of his old friends were pestering him, making it difficult for him to leave. Assistant Lung immediately understood Elder Tang's intentions and whispered in his ear, The third miss has arrived. Elder Tang suddenly relaxed as he nodded his head and went along with the commotion. After all, this was the best time to introduce Tongning to him. Dear guests, you can all come and take a look. Miss Tang Xian bumped into me. Yet not only did she not apologize, she even told me that this is the Tang family's territory and told me not to look for trouble. I simply want to hear the word sorry. Miss Tang, is your situation not enough for you to lower your noble head and apologize? After hearing this, Tang Xian's face flushed red. Everyone knew that she was nothing more than an empty shell, and was nothing more than a decoration in the Tang family. But understanding was one thing and being exposed was another. So Tang Xian flew into a rage as she lifted her hand to throw a slap at the woman. Chapter 534. Miss Tang, think it over carefully. If you really throw this slap across the face, Tang Kor will lose one of its biggest business partners next year. The man looked straight into Tang Xian's eyes and spoke in a firm tone. In front of everyone, Tang Xian was suddenly forced into a corner by her opponent. If she was to throw her slap across the face, not only would Elder Tang be affected, but so many staff and eyes would be watching her every move. If she didn't throw her slap, Then where would she put her pride as the big miss? But just as everyone thought Tang Xian wouldn't dare to make a move, a loud slap was heard. Tang Xian actually threw a punch in front of so many people. She suddenly remembered how all the guests were praising Tang Xian and ignoring her. Since Tang Xian was omnipotent, she wanted to see how Tang Xian was going to turn the situation around. Of course, Tang Xian would always use the method of hurting the enemy while hurting herself. She had never thought about the long-term consequences of doing so. Has the big miss gone crazy? How could she hit the heiress of Su Kor? Is there something wrong with her brain? Our staff works so hard. Is it just for her to waste? Tang Kor's staff expressed their dissatisfaction, especially when Tang Xian did something so stupid at such a grand event. It was no wonder that Tang Ning's reputation in Tang Kor grew. After all, between the two of them, one was there to solve problems, while the other was there to create problems. Miss Su did not expect Tang Xian to actually hit her. In an instant, she covered her face and glared at Tang Xian in shock and anger. Tang Xian felt a little scared, but she still gathered her courage. You were the one who told me to hit you. Don't blame me for not holding back. After all, this is Tang Kor's annual celebration. It seems Tang Kor and Su Kor don't want to continue with the collaboration, the man said coldly. The man said coldly to Tang Xian. After speaking, he turned around to leave. But at this moment, a loud shout rang out from the crowd. Please wait. Everyone turned around and looked in the direction of the voice. The onlookers quickly moved aside to form a path. At this time, everyone could clearly see who it was. She was wearing a black fluffy dress, and her whole body exuded a sexy and mysterious aura. The sparkling diamonds on her wrist and earlobes made her look like a star in the vast sky, sparkling and enchanting. This kind of noble aura, this kind of inviolable radiance, caused everyone present to almost forget to breathe for a moment, especially when she had Mo Ting standing beside her. A handsome man like him, no matter where he stood, he would be the undisputed king. It was as if he was the ruler of the world. With such a beautiful couple, who else could compete for the glory? Tang Ning is here. Things have taken a turn for the better. You've arrived just in time. Third miss, you need to save Tang Kor's face. Don't let that idiot ruin it all. The people around them had already expressed their excitement. Of course, Tang Ning still purposely hit her stomach. After all, she was wearing a fluffy dress. She didn't think it was the right time to reveal the child in her stomach. After all, there were too many guests and complicated characters. She didn't want to put her baby at risk. Please wait. Tang Ning called out once again as she held onto the heiress of Su Kor. The heiress was a little surprised, but she still turned around and saw Tang Ning and Mo Ting walking towards them. Many people had only heard of Tang Ning's methods, but they had never seen her brilliant PR skills. So the problem today was a perfect test for her. Tang Xian had already made a move. Was there any way to salvage the situation? Third Miss Tang, the heiress scoffed. What? Do you think your sister hasn't hit you enough? Do you want to give her another slap? Miss Su, can you give me a minute? Tang Ning asked sincerely. The heiress wanted to reject Tang Ning, but as she looked into Tang Ning's eyes, she couldn't bring herself to open her mouth. Go ahead. The heiress gave Tang Ning a chance with an expression that said, let's see what you can do. Tang Ning, your sister has been bullied. Are you still going to help an outsider at a time like this? Tang Xian took the opportunity to fan the flames. Hearing this question, Tang Ning turned around and glared at Tang Xian coldly. She then asked, if I remember correctly, Miss Tang Xian is the outsider at Tang Kor, am I right? You. As an outsider, how dare you bully a VIP on Tang Kor's turf? Miss Tang, how do you plan to explain yourself? Tang Ning continued to question Tang Xian. Of course, Mo Ting had been protecting his wife the entire time, so there was no need for him to appear in a situation like this. But no one dared to ignore his presence. Tang Xian was speechless. At this time, Tang Ning did not continue to pressure her. Instead, she turned to the heiress of Su Kor and said, Miss Su, when it comes to business, the elders have always been the ones to handle things. As the younger generation, it's best if we don't make things difficult for them. Of course, I won't let you get hurt for no reason. What do you say? When the young mistress of the Su family heard this, her lips couldn't help but curl into a smile. Sure enough, the two sisters' styles were worlds apart. Tongning was giving her a way out of this embarrassing situation. After all, Tang Kor and Su Kor couldn't possibly stop working together just because of a slap. After all, this was a multi-billion-dollar business that involved the entire operation of the company. So she was simply saying it out of anger. But what made the heiress even more excited was the fact that Tongning had no intention of protecting Tang Xian. In fact, she did not hide her disgust towards Tang Xian at all. In other words, they were on the same side. Okay, I would like to see how the third Miss Tang plans to give me a satisfactory explanation. After receiving a response from the heiress, Tongning understood her attitude. So she freed herself from Mo Ting's arms and walked over to Tang Xian. Bow to Miss Su 3 times and say sorry 3 times. Afterwards she turned around and asked the heiress, Miss Su, what do you think? Bow. In front of so many people? The heiress remained silent for a moment before nodding her head. If Tang Xian was willing, she would of course accept. After all, this was a respectful apology. Are you dreaming? Tang Xian asked. Great. In other words, you can make your second choice, Tongning said in a loud voice. After speaking, Tongning raised her voice and said to everyone, I, Tongning, have always been a vengeful person. I'm sure everyone here knows this, right? Since the big Miss Tang refuses to apologize, then I won't ask you to bow. I'll let Miss Su bump into you once and return the slap in the face. After that, we will be even. What do you think? Isn't that fair? Chapter 535. As soon as Tang Xian heard this, her body trembled in anger as she screamed at Tongning. Tongning! Tangning noticed Tang Xian's eyes were red and emotional, but her expression remained cold as she replied. Don't you think, compared to doing whatever you want on the outside, getting the Tang family to clean up your mess, getting Tang Kor to clean up after you, and getting you to apologize and bow to them, is already being very kind to you? If it wasn't for the fact that you are related by blood, and that you are a part of the Tang family, you would already be speaking to me from the defendant's stand. How could you possibly stand here in front of me and the guests of Tang Kor? If you don't apologize today, I will let Miss Su knock you back. I refuse to believe that with so many people watching you make a mistake, you can still distort the truth. Tongning's words were spoken in a calm and powerful tone. Everyone present received the same answer. Tongning's attitude was firm. This made the heiress of Su Kor feel like she had offended someone she shouldn't have offended. Offended someone she shouldn't have offended. Tang Xian's face turned red and white as her hands clenched into fists. In the end, she couldn't help but laugh. Tongning, don't think I don't know what your motive is. Did you hear that grandfather wants to transfer his shares to my child? So you're plotting something against my child? Under a situation like this and at a grand event like this, if Tang Xian didn't use her child as a shield, it would be difficult for her to escape unscathed. So she stuck out her stomach and revealed her identity as a pregnant woman. She wanted to tell everyone that she was pregnant, and no one could mess around with her. Tang Xian was well aware of her advantage. How infuriating. Are we going to let her off just because she's pregnant? How shameless. How could they let someone like her get pregnant? Are we just going to let her get away with it? Hearing the whispers around her, Tang Xian naturally smiled. She knew, as long as there was a child in her stomach, Tongning wouldn't dare to do anything to her. So she scoffed and prepared to leave. However, at this time, Tongning grabbed onto her wrist. I didn't say you could leave. What else can you do to me? Tang Xian retorted. In that case, let's settle the score today. Do you want me to announce that you colluded with the doctor to remove my uterus? Or do you want me to announce that you colluded with the secretary to bribe the kidnappers to deal with my mother? As soon as Tang Xian heard this, her body couldn't help but tremble. I'll keep the witness and the evidence for you. Do you want to apologize to me quietly now, or should I ask the police to come and ask you to lower your noble head? You can't possibly have. You can try. The two sisters did not let a third person, not even the heiress of the Su family, hear what they said. However, it was enough to hurt Tang Xian. Tang Xian's face suddenly turned pale in fear, before slowly turning red. In the end, she gritted her teeth and said, "Tongning, you are as despicable as ever. Did you think you were worthy of me using the right methods?" Tongning asked. His smile was obviously warm, but in Tang Xian's eyes, it was filled with mockery. "Okay, I apologize." Everyone heard Tang Xian apologize, so they were all shocked. They didn't know how to accept Tang Xian's sudden change in attitude. Tongning let go of Tang Xian's hand and gestured for her to apologize with her chin. Tang Xian had no choice but to approach the heiress respectfully. As she bowed, she said, "Miss Su, I'm sorry. It was all my fault. Please forgive me." 3 times, Tongning emphasized. Tang Xian's heart was filled with frustration. All she could do was apologize to the heiress twice. "It's fine now." The heiress originally thought no one could deal with this pregnant woman. But no matter how shameless Tang Xian was, the person she met was Tongning. Tongning. At this moment, the heiress felt nothing but respect towards Tongning. "Is that enough?" Tang Xian asked in a humiliated tone after bowing a few times. Tongning looked at the heiress of Su Kor, and the heiress nodded her head in satisfaction. "I don't want to see this happen again." Tang Xian glared at Tongning angrily, but there was nothing she could do. "You can return to your seat now, Miss Tang. Watch where you walk. Otherwise, if you lose your child, the public will think I have ulterior motives towards your child." She simply returned to her seat, not allowed to leave. Tang Xian's chest heaved up and down. It was obvious, she was trying her best to control her anger. But what could she do? The person in front of her was the impenetrable Tongning. Most importantly, she couldn't do anything to her. So all she could do was turn around and return to her seat in front of everyone. Although I don't know what the third miss said to make this idiot listen to her, it feels fucking good. Seeing this woman in defeat is so satisfying. I can't believe the third miss actually managed to bow and apologize. She defeated such a difficult opponent in just a few moves. She's amazing. The staff of Tang Kor cheered in their hearts. Like the heiress of Su Kor, they were helpless against Tang Xian's arrogance. After all, she was pregnant, so they had to be careful when dealing with her. But Tongning completely defeated Tang Xian. The heiress of Su Kor watched a good show, and Tongning once again helped her regain some face. She then turned to everyone and smiled. "I've long heard that the third miss is extremely intelligent. It seems you live up to your reputation. With a leader like this, it's no wonder Tang Kor is becoming more and more successful. Third miss, I admire you. You're too kind, Miss Su. Sorry for making you suffer tonight." "This is nothing," the heiress of Su Kor said generously. The heiress of the Su clan said generously, "If third Miss Tang doesn't mind, we can be friends." In front of so many people, Tongning resolutely resolved a crisis for Tang Kor. This, of course, made the staff of Tang Kor admire her. So as he watched the atmosphere return to normal, the corners of Elder Tang's lips curved upwards in relief. If there was one person in this world that wouldn't lose out in front of both good and bad people, it would be Tongning. So in the end, he put down his old friend and walked past the guests towards Tongning and Mo Ting. He then suddenly raised Tongning's right hand. "Taking advantage of this occasion, I would like to announce something very important. I'm sure no one here will object to my announcement. From today onwards, I will step down as CEO of Tang Kor, and will be replaced by my third granddaughter, Tongning." Chapter 536. Hearing this, everyone was stunned as they looked at each other with a glass of red wine in their hands. At this time, the most excited person was none other than Tang Xian, who jumped out of her chair. The announcement was too sudden. For Tang Kor, it was like a huge bomb had been dropped on them. At first, the staff did not react. But at this time, Mo Ting suddenly clapped his hands. Not long after, the entire hall erupted in applause. "This is great. That's great. Wow." Not only did the hall erupt in applause, but the staff were also so excited that they began to scream and cheer for Tongning. They were convinced by Tongning. If it was someone else, they wouldn't have accepted it so easily. Tongning lived up to everyone's expectations. Xiao Ning, there are so many eyes looking at you. Are you going to reject them? Grandfather doesn't need you to give 100% of your energy to Tang Core. All you need to do is watch over the foundation of the Tang family and pass it down from generation to generation. That would be enough. Tang Ning glanced at Elder Tang and then turned to look at Mo Ting. In the end, she placed her gaze on Tang Xian, who was on the verge of losing control, and nodded her head. Grandfather, I will do my best. Great, that's great. Elder Tang took a deep breath. He had finally resolved the biggest burden on his mind. Tang Ning had finally taken over Tang Core. From now on, he no longer needed to worry about the future of Tang Core. However, just as everyone was rejoicing over Tang Ning taking over as chairwoman of Tang Core, a scream came from the crowd. A moment later, someone yelled, "Blood! She's bleeding!" Tang Core changes dynasty. Tang Ning takes over. Tang Xian miscarries. Sisterly fight reaches new heights. Tang Xian is kicked out of Tang Core 3 times. Anger leads to miscarriage. Tang Ning is truly a winner in life. She is the top box office earner and the chairwoman of Tang Core. At this moment, the hottest news in Beijing was that Tang Ning had become the chairwoman of Tang Core and Tang Xian had a miscarriage and was hospitalized. Of course, it was true that Tang Xian had seen blood. But the child in her stomach was fine after the doctors tried their best to save it. Tang Core's annual celebration was filled with climaxes. However, no one expected that it would end with Tang Xian being sent to the hospital. In the quiet VIP ward, Tang Xian was hooked up to a drip. She leaned weakly against the bed, her face pale and haggard. Elder Tang sat by her bedside with the support of his walking stick while Xia Yuling and assistant Lung stood on the other side of the bed. Although there were a lot of people watching over Tang Xian, she didn't want to see a single one of them. "Grandpa, don't you think you're too heartless?" After a short pause, Tang Xian suddenly said to Elder Tang in a raspy voice as tears rolled down her cheeks. "I am also your granddaughter. Why must you dote on me so much? You've given Tang Ning the entire Tang Core, yet you're so stingy as to leave me a single cent. How much hate do I have to feel?" After hearing Tang Xian's words, Elder Tang lowered his head and thought for a moment. He then lifted his head and said, "Right now, the most important thing for you to do is to recover. The doctor said you almost had a miscarriage." "Grandpa, how can you be so vicious?" Tang Xian. After hearing this, Xia Yuling couldn't hold back anymore. Just as she was about to speak up for Elder Tang stretched out his arm and stopped her. "Perhaps to you, Grandpa is cruel. After all, in the entire Tang family, Grandpa treats you the most ruthlessly," Elder Tang continued after a short pause. "But have you ever thought about the reason?" Tang Xian tilted her head and did not say another word. It seemed it was because of Elder Tang's actions that caused her to suffer the consequences of her actions. "Grandpa once loved you and even hurt Xiao Ning for over 20 years. But in the end, what did Grandpa get in return? Xiao Xian, tell me honestly, what have you done to Xiao Ning?" Tang Xian froze. She did not dare to look Elder Tang in the eye because she felt guilty. "You've done a lot of wrong things in the past, but Grandpa has always turned a blind eye to them. But I never imagined you would actually collude with the hospital to remove Xiao Ning's uterus. Yuling too. All these years, she has been very responsible for the Tang family. Even though she isn't your biological mother, for the sake of making you feel better, she has hurt herself and her own daughter. But what did you do? You actually found someone to kidnap her." Hearing these two things come out of Elder Tang's mouth, Tang Xian's eyes grew wide. "Did Tang Ning tell you about this?" "I knew it from the start," Elder Tang interrupted straightforwardly. "From the start. In other words, every day, I face this evil granddaughter, yet I can't wait for her to turn around. All I can do is become more and more disappointed. Now you no longer have the slightest bit of sympathy for me," Elder Tang said coldly. She thought about the show she had put on in the Tang family home, and how she had toyed with the Tang family for so long. Tang Xian suddenly felt a chill down her spine. She even started to laugh at herself because of her own arrogance. "All of you must be looking at me like I'm an idiot, right?" It turned out, from the very beginning, she had always been transparent in front of the Tang family. You guys are too good at pretending. That's why you were able to create an award-winning actress like Tangning. Why don't you go and act? Tang Xian yelled at Elder Tang and the others. Leave, all of you leave. I don't want to see you. Get lost. It turned out, this was the biggest humiliation that Tangning had given her. This humiliation made her want to find a hole to crawl into and bury herself alive. Elder Tang and the others did not say another word. They simply asked the nurse to take care of Tang Xian's health before they left the hospital and disappeared from Tang Xian's sight. Miss Tang, you need to rest well. Speaking of which, the Tang family has been experiencing one happy event after another. From the photos I've seen on the news, Miss Tangning seems to be pregnant. Tang Xian's nurse suddenly said to Tang Xian after Elder Tang and the others left. What did you say? Tang Xian turned and asked. Although she tried her best to cover up her abdomen, it's easy for a normal doctor to see that she's obviously pregnant for a few months. Tangning was also pregnant? This was impossible. Because of this, Tang Xian immediately grabbed the latest newspaper from the nurse's hands and looked at Tangning's photo in detail. Even if she found out that I got someone to remove her uterus, it's still a fact that she's infertile. How could she possibly be pregnant? She's lying. Miss Tang, although I'm already retired, I still have over 20 years of experience in medicine. If I say that Tangning is pregnant, then it must be true. It's up to you whether you want to believe it or not. The nurse insisted after seeing Tang Xian deny it. In reality, it wasn't hard to tell. However, when it was first rumored that Tangning was infertile, no one thought in that direction. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.